all the way up until the end. Then if they ever...
It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parable? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then Jesus said to them, don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parable? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parables? It's a secret, but it's an open secret. It's plain to all, but only if you see and understand. Then Jesus said to them, don't you understand this parable? Then how will you understand any parables?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the chill stream. You may go to other channels for savings throws. You may come to some channels for the mere desire to be virtually not alone. You may go to some channels to maybe get a little taste of the woo. Maybe you go to channels because you like the discussions. Maybe there's a channel you go to because you think, this person gets it. They've found it. Ultimate truth. The answer. And so that's why you go to that channel. But there's only one channel in all the TLC, in all the Peterson sphere, in all of the part of the internet connected to this little corner of the internet, the Peterson sphere, and related channels. There's only one channel that you come to chill on a Sunday, and that's the McMo Chill Stream. I should have loaded up a sample of people applauding because, maybe my narcissism is showing, but I felt like that one was pretty good. I figured I would play some of this local distance PVK conversation because I feel like it didn't get I think it's a little bit of a throwback. I think one of the things I want these chill Sundays to be is kind of we put on some of the throwback conversations. Back in the day, if you watch oldies, it'd be like well, I grew up like I would watch like Andy Griffin would be like my idea of like a perfect Sunday show. It's got that nostalgia. It's got that innocence. And in these days on the internet, the only thing that's different is the speed right now. So when we play the oldies, we're talking about something that's, what does this say? It's, where's the date? Does anybody remember when this was? 1 month ago. There it was. 1 month ago. So it's just a month ago, but notice how it feels like that was years ago. Whoo, the zeitgeist moves fast. We're not going all the way back to Beauregard strawberries. Not yet, flavors, not yet. Maybe we will later. But I wanted to tell a little story first. And at first I thought of the story, I was going to make a little allegory in my head, and the allegory goes something. I'll tell you the real. I basically started ideating, you could say, on this little allegory, and then what happened was the ideation led to a memory of an actual thing. What up, Tunji? Welcome aboard. Ups, welcome aboard. Tayo, Matsy, glad you're all here. Tunji, a man of the people. So I'm kind of debating in my head now whether or not to say the allegory first or the anecdote. But I'll do the allegory first. The allegory is, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and it's a place where busking is actually legal. You don't have to have a permit to play a musical instrument on the side of the street. And I have done that, but that's not the allegory. I have, there were times in my life, shall we say, well, you know what? I wanted to try busking for various reasons. Some of them were because it just seemed like a cool thing to say to my kids one day that, like, yeah, your dad was one of those weirdos that played his saxophone on the street for money. And so I was glad that I had done it. I'm getting stuck in another anecdote when I was trying to stick to the allegory. Anyway, Yeah, allegory is so hot right now. So here's the allegory. In a place like Asheville, there's a man playing acoustic guitar on the side of it wasn't a busy street. It was really more of a back alley. And so this guy's playing guitar, and he knows that, there's not going to be a lot of people that come by. He's probably not going to make a lot of money busking in this back alley. But you know what? He loves the music. He loves playing his guitar. And in truth, it can be a little difficult to get a prime spot on the busy streets. Usually there's some sort of seniority or, this reason or the next that the guys who get the prime spots in the busy streets playing their music or doing their magic tricks, there's a reason why they get those spots. And sometimes it's physical intimidation. Sometimes it's seniority. Sometimes it's, Machiavellian, conniving and fox-like behavior, as PBK. So PBK understands, But anyway, so this guy, he's just playing his acoustic guitar in the back alley. And he probably plays for like a month straight, right? And nobody doesn't get a lot of attention. Every so often, somebody will come by and they'll say, "Oh, wow, there's a guy in the back alley playing an acoustic guitar. Let's go check that out. Sounds pretty cool." And so every so often he'll have somebody that comes down and he'll get a little change, maybe some cigarette money, something like that. But then one day, somebody comes down the back alley with a instrument case in their hand. And as our hero is playing his guitar, somebody comes and he's like, oh, wow, actually, I have a trumpet. Why don't we just play together? And our guy thinks, well, that sounds like a great idea. It's like, it'll at least be like twice as loud now, so maybe some more people will come down this back alley. And so he gets this guy, maybe plays the trumpet, right? So we got acoustic guitar and a trumpet. So now we've got these two guys, and they're playing their instruments in this back alley, and they're really enjoying playing their instruments in this back alley, right? And they're doing it purely for the love of the game, right? There's no money coming in. They're not getting like crowds applauding. But then one day, another person walks down the back alley, and this guy's got a cajon. And if you don't know what a cajon is, then you can Google that. But it's K-A-J, or not C-A-J-O-N-E. It's like a box. It's like those box beaters. The people that they beat the box, but they don't beatbox. Bars. And so now they're like, oh yeah, dude, you gotta play. We've got basically a nice little trio here. So none of us have the pull or the will to power or the seniority to play our music on the busy streets. But you know what? That's not what it's all about. It's about the love of music. It's about the love of playing your instrument, being with your bandmates, feeling the vibes, getting in the rhythm. And so it's like, hey, this might just be like a practice, It's like basically we're just practicing in this back alley. But now we've got a trio, and we're really killing it. And then one day, wouldn't you know it, another guy comes down the alley with an instrument case. He's got another instrument. And this time it's a saxophone. So now we've got the cajon, the trumpet, the acoustic guitar, and the saxophone. The saxophone player comes down the street. A saxophone much like this. A saxophone player comes down the street, and they think, oh my goodness. All right, the trio just became a quartet. A quartet. We've got a quartet playing in the back alley. This is incredible. This is awesome. And so they start playing their first song. And then the saxophone player says, whoa, wait, guys. Can you please, can we bring the key down just like one note, two notes, something like that? Can Can we play it in a different key? Sorry. Can we? I think this song sounds better if we play it in a different key. And so the cajon player says, well, it doesn't matter to me. I just play the cajon. Same thing for me, And then the trumpet player says, yeah, I think I can probably, transpose in my head, whatever. Yeah, we'll do that. And the acoustic guitar says like, oh, you know what? That's fine. That's totally fine. I actually have a capo right here. And so they're like, okay, now we're going to start playing in this new key. Let's start again. And they start playing the song. And the saxophone player says, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold on. This is way too fast. This is way too fast. We got to slow it down. And so he asked everybody, and everybody says, and the cajon player says, yeah, actually this time it does affect me. So yeah, I can play a little slower. Maybe, maybe that was on me. I'll try to play a little slower. And they start playing again. And the saxophone player goes, whoa, 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 whoa. This is just not working. I'm just, you know what? You guys just let me. I'll start with the solo. I'll set the key, and I'll set the tempo, and then you guys can follow me. And so they did that. And they did that for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and they practiced and practiced and practiced. And guess what? They were still in a back alley. And now, because there was a gang of them, people were less likely to come down into the back alley and throw some coins into the hat, because instead of it just being this guy on the acoustic guitar singing in it for the love of the game, they had become this oiled machine, this band ready for the big time. So as I was conceiving of that allegory, I thought of a real story that actually happened to me in my life, which will let you guys know a little bit more about me and the type of person I am. So basically, I was at a bar with friends, and me and my friend, I had kind of just like recent. This was like a few years ago, and I had recently realized the like value of Kierkegaard and epistemic humility and what was the other thing? It was absurdity, Christian absurdity, the thing right up there. And so I had all these grand visions of like, yes, I've made progress in philosophy, and I think not only can I fly to the heights of Kierkegaard and Schopenhauer and Nietzsche, Aquinas, Kant, even. Not only that, but I also, I thanks be to God, I have the sharp wit and the down-to-earth sensibilities that will allow me to speak about this in my local bar. Not even my local bar. I actually traveled to go to this bar. But anyway, my friend, basically, we're outside, we're smoking a cigarette, and laughing it up, just having a grand old time. And then my friend says something about religion or philosophy or politics or something. And I decided at that moment that it was like the perfect time to say, to kind of bring out my my new philosophical wins and advantages and discoveries for the people. And I thought to myself, well, I'm just going to make this guy really realize the existential anxiety and the real precarious position he finds himself epistemically if he chooses to live a life that's not inspected. What is it? Not unexamined. The unexamined life is not worth living. And so I'm gonna, by nature of my logic and discernment and wit and all the above, I'm going to really put this guy in his place and show him, there's levels to this intellectual game, brother. And so basically what I decided to do was anything he said, I was just going to say, prove it. And so he said something like, I think that the Democrats are cooked, or, maybe he said, I think that the Republicans have just become way too cringe. And I said, prove it. And then he had an excuse for that. And I said, prove it. And I just kept saying, prove it, like a 3-year-old asking their parent, why? Well, why does that happen? Why does that happen? And basically this went on for a long time. until I had realized that I had made because I had decided to be this like Norm Macdonald troll character, that I had offended my friend, put him in a position to look like a fool in front of our other friends because he didn't have the answers to the universe, because he couldn't. He, he had. I had basically done this humiliation ritual, proving that I was the top intellect. And well, guess what? All of my friends thought I was a real asshole for doing that. They thought that I was being mean, and they were right. And so, yeah, that's, I guess, chill time with McMo. Story time with McMo. Chill. We can now proceed. I've got a lot of comments to catch up on. Now that I've done the like 20-minute Luke Thompson style monologue at the beginning, I think I'll drop the link. You guys can join me. I'll make a chill beat in the background. But until then, we will watch this Wocal Distance and PVK convo. And it's 2 hours long, so I think that like maybe they get cooking somewhere. What does Grim do? He does the 33rd minute, so maybe we should do the 66th minute, 106. I don't want to go that demonic. I don't want to go that Mark of the Beastish. We'll do 59.
Now they'll talk about co-optation, and he says to begin to take co-optation seriously is to instantly to discard one of the basic shibboleths of 60s historiography. As it turns out, in many American businesses, particularly in the industry studied here, imagined the counterculture not as an enemy to be undermined or a threat to consumer culture, but as a hopeful sign, a symbolic ally in their own struggles against the mountains of deadweight procedure and a hierarchy that had accumulated over the years. They all agreed with each other. Every one of these countercultural rebels that I'm fighting against the system, and it's like all of the advertising executives were all fighting against the system. Everybody's fighting against the system.
Right. And they are the system.
Everyone thinks that the system is oppressing them.
That's right.
And this is the foundational myth, that there is a social system which functions as a prison by controlling us and keeping us asleep. This is everything from the sheeple are sleeping, we need to wake them up. This is woke. Right. Screw it.
It's also
the
the
hippie
Matrix.
culture. This is also the Matrix. This is the anti-consumerism of Kurt Cobain. This is the punks in the 80s. This is the Jesus movement in the 70s. This is the guy in this whiskey thinking the man sends the fuzz around to bust your stash so you don't free your mind. It's all the same thing. Both Mark Driscoll and Nadia Bolz-Weber are doing the same thing, and so is Kristen Dumais.
That was important. We're going back. We're going back.
He calls it Theory X and Theory Y, where Theory X is rigor, order. It's the 50s advertisers with the guy in our product has 18% more beads than their product. It has a 14% reduction in blah, blah, blah. And you switch into the 60s and it's like rock and roll, man. And what's happening there, says Frank, is that all of the advertising agencies were completely on board with the critique of mass society. They hated it too. In fact, he says one of the admin told him that the way you sell something in American culture is you find a social convention, figure out how to subvert it, and sell the product as part of the subversion.
Right.
Now, they'll talk about co-optation, and he says to begin to take co-optation seriously is to instantly to discard one of the basic shibboleths of 60s historiography. As it turns out, in many American businesses, particularly in the industry studied here, imagined the counterculture not as an enemy to be undermined or a threat to consumer culture, but as a hopeful sign, a symbolic ally in their own struggles against the mountains of deadweight procedure and a hierarchy that had accumulated over the years. They all agreed with each other. Every one of these countercultural rebels that I'm fighting against the system, and it's like all of the advertising executives were all fighting against the system. Everybody's fighting against the system.
Right. and they are the system.
Everyone thinks that the system is oppressing them.
That's right.
And this is the foundational myth, that there is a social system which functions as a prison by controlling us and keeping us asleep. This is everything from the sheeple are sleeping, we need to wake them up. This is woke. Screw it.
It's also the
hippie
Matrix.
culture. This is also the Matrix. This is the anti-consumerism of Kurt Cobain. This is the punks in the 80s. This is the Jesus movement in the 70s. This is the guy in the 60s thinking the man spins the fuck around to bust your dash. You don't free your mind. It's all the same thing. Both Mark Driscoll and Nadia Bolz-Weber are doing the same thing, and so is Kristen Dumais. So is Scott Coley. So is Beth Allison Barr. All of them, all of the post-liberals on the political
What up,
road,
boss?
we think we're fighting.
Just chilling, you know how it is.
You want me to play the beat, and do you consent to that with the knowledge that you will get an echo should you choose to speak?
I consent.
Alrighty.
Fighting against the post-war consensus of liberalism, and the other people say we're fighting against the post-war consensus of conformity. And really, what's happening is you guys would like more order. That's the consensus they're fighting in. They want loosey-goosey, anything goes. That's the consensus you're fighting against. You're rebelling against each other. This is what you're doing, and it creates all kinds of interest.
Well. Looks like I'm not going to be able to get to this beat. Nat C is here. What up, dog?
No, get back on that beat, brother.
You want me to get back to the beat?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to? I'm going to keep playing the PVK and vocal then. Just interrupt, but just know you will have an echo.
Keep cooking.
And this is a good time for the audience to just take a couple deep breaths. Listen to the music. Chill out. It's all good, baby. It's a day of rest. I mean, technically that was yesterday, but it's the Lord's Day. It's the 8th day. It's the 8th day, y'all.
Interesting thing, because you have all of these influencers that fight, and then you find out that, like, behind the scenes they've all been dating. It's kind of like, this is what we're finding out. Like, you go, oh, you guys are a couple.
Yeah, because Gavin Newsom's his girlfriend before his current wife wasn't that also Donald Trump Jr.'s live-in girlfriend? I mean,
Gavin Newsom was do you one better. Gavin Newsom was dating Kimberly Guilfoyle. They were
that's
married.
her. Yeah, that's her. Yeah. You know,
like,
and you think.
Yep.
So, and again,
the young insurgents, people in more advanced reaches of American corporate world deplored conformity, distrusted routine, and encouraged resistance to established power. The articles decrying conformity had appeared in no less august a periodical than Reader's Digest. Daniel Bell wrote that no one in the United States defends conformity. Everyone is against it, and probably everyone always was. 30 years ago, you could easily rattle a middle-class American by charging him as being a Babbitt. Today, you can do so by accusing him of conformity. The problem is to know who is accusing whom.
Yep. And so then the conversation, so then of course that leads to the suspicion that anything that anybody is saying doesn't really matter. What really counts is that they are doing this in order either to gain status or to put money in the bank. And because gaining status usually puts money in the bank, especially in a social media environment, it's the same thing. And so then you sort of return down into, okay, so then where is there a there? And that is sort of where we're at. The difficulty is we had a one of the channels, Christian Baxter, had a good conversation with Jordan Hall, and we're talking about the difference between scale and growth, because everyone wants to scale their clout or their footprint or whatever it is in order, of course, to do this. And so then you have the anti-scalers.
Yeah.
But of course, if you in fact want to change the world, it's going to require, especially on some timeline that you are going to live to see, then you are going to want to have a movement scale, yada yada yada. And that's where we're at now. So we have elected, which is, you know, I just laugh when I look at this drama playing out, because we elected another baby boomer into the White House, and it's just,
Welcome,
I just
Phoebus.
watch it.
You will also have a
turn and turn,
like,
and
pause
so
everything.
people then text me and message me about this or that. And I say, this is politics. Is
All right, I think we got a quorum. I think we should let the conversation commence.
And I think we've also achieved VNA, so the bubble can disappear.
Bubble can go. You're right. The bubble can pop. You know, that's not a prophecy. Welcome, brothers. Phoebus, you've had a particularly spicy weekend, if I might say so. You've been
Yes.
you've been on one, man. MVP of the Saturday cookout with the new parameters of wanting the spiciest and hottest steaks. I think like that's you know, we're first inaugural, but kind of big deal. First McMo MVP, I think.
Oh, you're
I
muted.
can hear you, brother. Still MVP.
MVP Phoebus.
Any better? Any better?
Yes,
There we
sir.
go.
I was saying I can't really remember what I said in chat, but I'm
Oh,
sure
you
it was
said
good.
5 things. At least 3 absolute bangers of a comment. I think 2 was just roasting McMo.
That was those were my favorites. Yeah.
Actually, the
And
one
also-
I'm proudest about is where I've transferred McGilchrist left and right
that,
into the
that was
left and right
brilliant.
testicles. So
Yeah, I feel like you took my joke on the line of good and evil runs perpendicular to the butt crack, and you just took that like to the next level. To the next level.
To the most absurd level.
yeah, because the complaint is that the division is totally arbitrary, right? There's not actually a division, which makes a lot more sense down there. It makes it it makes it a lot funnier.
Good grief. Latest, did you have it? Well, I guess this is my question to everybody. Did you guys all have anything to say, or did you just come to chill like old times? You know, this is like one of the first ones I did with just Tayo, Phoebus, and Matt C. You guys were like my first fans.
Yeah, I think it's time we take the chill stream back to its chill origins.
Yeah,
Protestant triumvirate.
Tayo called me a racist yesterday, but we have to leave that in the past, right?
No, well, it's a
Oh,
chill
no.
stream. We can chillfully discuss racism.
Yeah. Just let's all just relax, sit back, you know, put our feet up, and let's talk racism.
As friends do after church on a Sunday.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I'm joking.
I didn't call you a racist. You called yourself a racist, which is funnier. I just baited you into calling yourself a racist.
No, it's the atmosphere up here. There's certain things. As soon as you broach the topic, the air gets thick, and everyone, oh boy, and even if it's not at all, everyone can feel it in the room. So
I'm so grateful for CC posting this for one reason and one reason only. I couldn't figure out how the hell to spell hygiene in that stream that came up before us. I was cooked. I was struggling. You know, like this is what happens.
Come on the
when you
stream.
This
We
is
got
what
to
happens
debrief
when
you too.
yeah, Matt C just wants to debrief, even though he also doesn't want to talk about it, even though he loves talking about it. While he's eating his meat that he probably killed that got him kicked from a nature cam channel. Damn, that sucks, dude. I saw that on Twitter.
Let's debrief on that first of all.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Matt C, tell us about getting banned from a trail cam YouTube channel.
I was hanging out in trail cam YouTube since December September, and in Maine, there's like probably the biggest platform for trail cam YouTube is in Maine. And so I was just chilling there, and it's very, it's anti-hunter culture up there for some reason. A lot of people hunt up there, but cam culture is different, I guess, in Maine. And everybody, likes to talk about how cool the bucks are. And there's a lot of there's a silent majority in that chat, right? Like it's not just people who like to treat wild animals like pets, particularly with deer. So it was the last night before they close up the cabs for the season, because now they can free forage. They just gotta this family like pays, I don't know, thousands of dollars, and then people like super chat the deer kind of thing to give them feed for the winter to get them through. There's so many deer. They're all super fat. There's no predators, so the deer just get way beyond like sustainable population levels. People are hitting them all the time with their trucks. It's a disaster. So there's no like equilibrium in the in the ecology, and people just feed them and they super chat to keep these things the population exploding. So it was the last night, so I was like, you know what? And people were asking in the chat, they're like, so why do bucks not typically live as long as doe? Like, what's up with that? And then, and I'm doing like emoji in the chat. I was like, you know what? It's the last night. If I get banned, whatever. Let's just go out. Let's just, it's honesty time. So I was like, I'm pretty sure it's because of people who want to be a part of that ecosystem, who want to engage in that life cycle, who love deer enough to not just want to look at them, they want to eat them too. They want to enjoy them with all five senses.
That's hilarious.
We love the deer so much. I love cows so much. Not only a pet, but also a dinner.
Yeah. So
the deer population,
like VR arc. So it was pretty disastrous.
Yeah, we're going through.
Go ahead, Phlebas.
We're going through cycles up here. Like you get too many deer, and then they don't survive the winter. It's all my my brother-in-law's in the elevator business, and so he had a
elevator business.
Yeah, like corn elevators.
Okay.
marketing crops on the Chicago Exchange, right? So he was at a conference and he met this guy from Texas, and this dude buys like 10 million tons of corn and bags it and sells it to people who are feeding like hunting animals or whatever that's called. Matt would know, on these reserves. It's hilarious because corn's like subsidized in America, and then 10 million tons of it is going to like raising hunting or whatever prey animals. So anyways,
yeah, game animals that less than 1% of Americans even hunt. Most people, I don't even know if most people are neutral about it anymore in America. I think most people think it's kind of weird, barbarian. We live in a civilized society. We shouldn't be doing that anymore, or it's unethical by any standard. So then why are we feeding them? We should absolutely. We got to get the levels down to sustainable levels if we don't want to kill them, or reintroduce wolves.
You and I can make a difference in our children's future. Overpopulation is linked to pollution, overcrowding, health problems, and poor living conditions. Too many children can mean economic and emotional hardship. Our population is growing at an alarming rate. In the next 30 seconds, 90 more people will fill the earth. We need to make a change. Planning our families can make a difference. Think about how many children.
Perfect.
We're having a coyote boom, so maybe it'll take the deer down, because I think they eat the young ones.
Yeah, they'll go after the fawns for sure. That's good. Someone's got to.
That stuff is so interesting to me. Like, well, that doesn't mean that it's actually interesting, because I'm the same guy that'll get trapped in front of a a GIF of a rock paper scissors battle with emojis, but that kind of aspect of like, the deer is overpopulated, but oh, hey, the coyotes are also overpopulated. So maybe the coyotes will take care of some of the deers and then, et cetera, et cetera. It's the same type of logic where it's like, we'll subsidize the corn and then they'll even feed the game with corn. And then we hunt the game and like that kind of 2 or 3 step logic. Honestly what it is, and this is probably demonic, but my Myers-Briggs is ENFP, and I think that's the F versus the S differential, the kind of like that kind of right and left testicle, as Phlebas would call it. The kind of when it gets down to brass tacks, and you're talking trade-offs. Finally, we're talking trade-offs on the McMo stream. It's interesting.
We're gonna tear down the binaries. Anyways,
yeah, I'm all for metaphors and allegories. I like what you did with your allegory opening monologue, because there wasn't a clear mirror binary in it. You kind of had a trio thing going on multiple levels, and I think that kind of helps. We need a bit more dimensionality.
Like a grandparent.
That's good too. That's good in itself.
Can we play with the allegory? Because
Please do.
I want to talk about how it's a little bit obvious how much of a I'm just gonna say a cunt the sax player was. But can we speak about the cowardness of the other trio that just sort of went on with it?
Yeah, please do.
Weeks after weeks, and maybe the saxophone player was right to say, okay, maybe there's a sense in which
you should come on screen if you're gonna talk against the cowards. You should show your camera.
Oh, I'm very much part of the coward. I do not deny that. That's where I live. What are you talking about?
All right, proceed.
Yeah. So I think there's a sense in which there's an opportunity for growth in the sax player being as forthright and demanding as it was. It's an opportunity for the others to learn to maybe get some character XP that will enable them to find themselves on the more profitable part of the streets. Or am I stretching it too much?
I think that's great. I want to hear what Matt C and Phlebas think.
I missed the I missed that 5 or 10 minutes, and then I jumped on.
That needs to be clipped out.
I'm trying to play with the allegory and make sure I don't break it and leave it behind, and then just straight up debrief, because I know we're trying to do something a little more elevated here.
Don't feel too bad. I improvised it.
No, I like what you're doing there. That's like the method is the solution. I like what, instead of just, you're being transformative, not just reactive. So I'm trying to meet you at that transformative level. It's productive. That's actually chill, I think there's a way. I think there's a way to engage the saxophone player in a way. The saxophone player wants to be heard, but he also wants to play in a band. He showed up to be a part of a team, of a trio, right? Or a duo at first, and then he welcomed the trio situation. So he wants to participate, he wants to be heard, and by implication, he wants to listen. And he does want to jive with the group, but he's having trouble with that.
Maybe I'll put it in a more, instead of it being an artistic frame, a jock frame. Is there a difference between practice and the show? Like would the saxophone player have worked better or would that have been a better situation were it a practice? And that part of the reason why it's a back alley or whatever is that it gives you the freedom to kind of practice. But if we're kind of here for the love of the game, so that's what I'm thinking is like, to put it in more jog terms, I guess, is like with that feeling that you fight against your teammates all week when you practice. And then when you get into the game, you guys are a team and you're actually fighting against the other people. So like all of that heat or whatever could be very productive in a practice situation. But then is that a different, that should be a different situation as it relates to friend enemy distinction, as Parlato would say. But before we get to that, chew on that, we've got Freddie D from the SAC coming in to the Micmo stream. What's up, big dog?
The king.
Yeah, what's going on, yo? What's good? What's good up in this? What's happening? We be moving and grooving. Check us out on the Freddie and Paul show, because we got it going on, yo. We got it hipping and skipping like Skippy.
Good to see you, Fred.
That is awesome.
Thanks for clicking the link.
It's always a pleasure. One love.
One love.
All right.
Hey, Fred.
Yeah, what's up?
Tell me this. How was Pastor Paul's sermon today? What did he talk about?
Oh, no. We haven't done the church yet.
Oh, it's too early. What do you think he's going to talk about?
I don't know what he's going to talk about. Maybe be decent in order. I don't know.
Luke 15.
Luke 15.
All right.
I got my
Luke
boy
15.
back to my side. Boy,
oh, we got Kimo?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
there we go.
Look out for the album. It's just me and Charlie J is going to have an album coming out soon where people can listen.
Keep your eyes open and your ears to the street.
Bamboogle, yeah, Bamboogle or whatever it's called, something like that. And my music will be out, and I want you guys to come to my performance, and I want you to come in red and white, because this is what we got going on.
It's Canadian colors.
Yeah, is that Canadian?
Yeah.
What's the red and white? What's the red? Is that your favorite colors?
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, keep a lookout for the album coming hot and fresh from Freddie D and the SAC.
Yeah. All right, then. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining, Freddie. We love you, brother. One love.
Thank you. I love you too. Bye.
Bye. How can you not be a fan of Freddie D? How can you not be an absolute fanatic about the Freddie and Paul show? Who are these TLC folks who will watch all this thinky talky and not want to watch the Freddie and Paul show? Have you ever seen Paul Vanderklay freestyle rap? If your answer is no, you're slipping, you're tripping, and you need to watch the Freddie and Paul show, you idiot. That's my advice. If you have not seen PVK rap, you might be an idiot, because that means that you've been sleeping on the Freddie and Paul show, to your shame. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Freddie totally saved the stream. That's all I have to say. Yeah.
That's
what you mean. That's what you mean when you say save the stream.
That's what saving the stream looks like.
Absolutely. Elevated.
Yeah, Dan, we got to do it. We got to do it, Dan. Sorry, I haven't been as good at texting back as I need to be. My apologies, sir.
I've got a bit on your jock analogy. I think we're really good at practicing together. This plays into the kayfabe thing, right? When you're practicing, you're in. Everybody's in on that idea that your opponents are adversaries, but there's a It's because you bought into that so that you could all get together and be better as a team. Because the reality is that you are a team, and everyone knows that too. And that's what TLC is, I think. We're really good at the practice sessions. And I think maybe we're not as good at noticing when it's game day, and we forget what we learned in practice. I think that happened today.
I missed the story, but is that game day, or do some people approach busking with no competitive attitude and it's actually just, a pickup game? You're having fun with your buddies.
I think that that's part of like when you're just out there by yourself, you'll tend to think of it as for the love of the game. But then once other people get involved, there's social pressures that are like, oh, well, I don't want to be wasting this other person's time. Like, I hope I'm not wasting Phoebus, Tayo, and Matt C's time on the Chill McMo stream. That would be, I'm going to have to answer to God for that,
That got real so quick. So true.
But like, it looked like we had somebody else joining us, but then they disappeared, threw me off track. But yeah, like originally that's kind of what I thought was that like it's easier for the one person to kind of accept that he's in the back alley playing for the love of the music, and like if somebody comes down and throws something in his hat, he's like overjoyed. And of course there are like, systemic reasons and all of this kind of real life things that means like, oh yeah, you're not going to be able to, you're not going to get the big bucks on the main street, but like, I do think that there's an element of like, when you bring people in, there's that element of it's tempting because it's, 1 + 1 = 2. Maybe you get more attention, but then there's also this element of like, the more people you let in, then that kind of the social pressures or the social phenomenon kind of take over. But we've got 2 new guests. We've got Skankenstein, Mr. Matt, a busker IRL in real life.
Oh.
And he's got sunglasses on, and you know what that means. If you come on in sunglasses, and I'll waive the hoodie clause for these colder months, but you get a solo layout. What's up, Matt?
I know the rules. How's it going, guys?
He's accustomed. He knows what's up. And then not only do we have Skankenstein Matt, we also have Chilled Bigot Dad.
What's up, fool?
There he is. There he is.
Wait, does that mean you're a bigoted dad, or does that mean that your daughter is a bigot already? How could she have? How could she have strayed so far in such few times, Chad? It hasn't been that long.
Haven't they run like psych tests about how like infants have racial preferences?
It's not bigot, it's begot. Duh.
It's French. My bad. I'm so uncultured.
We're all bigots.
Begotten.
Pronounced begot.
No, yeah, like begotten. I don't know. My jokes aren't good. I was just jamming to your beat, dude, and I came up like this jazzy thing. It was like, but it's really sloppy, and I couldn't get a solid run on your beat.
Well, you know what? I was literally in the process of sending you a clean version so you could work on it.
Oh,
and
Also, Chad didn't get his full screen, by the way.
oh, you're right. You're so right. He has sunglasses. Chad, the big old begot dad.
Begot. Hi.
Any chill thoughts for us? Anything? Any phrases come to mind when you think of chill or calming down or relaxing? Anything come to mind?
I just thought I'd put a cap on it and let it be.
Works for me.
Yeah.
All right, where were we? Somebody get us back on track. Matt C, save the stream.
I think we're so good at, like, sometimes I think that the practice session is the whole thing that we're doing in TLC, and that's okay. I'm not thinking of that necessarily critically, but there's trade-offs with treating the whole sport like just those practice sessions during the week, because then you get super thrown off when someone shows up and they say, "Hey, I actually want to play the game. I actually want to compete, and I want to win." And we forgot that there's a sport behind the practice, and we don't know how to transition to actually show up and by game day for TLC, I don't mean we don't have to beat the other person. You know what I mean? We're going to do it our TLC way, but we're forgetting our kung fu. I think sometimes we don't know how to, like, use our opponent's energy against them, so that we can have a good time. And despite themselves, they're actually going to be a part of our jazz trio, and we're actually going to make good music together.
Tayo, get his ass.
I wasn't listening.
I'll jump in here. Like,
Go ahead.
It's more a question like, what game are we prepping for? Like, I almost feel like we're almost in this stage of like practicing for a game that has yet to reveal itself.
Well, some people think they're on here to save souls.
Right.
Salvation, whether it's political, religious. Like, some people really want to win. They see things are wrong. That was happening on the other stream. And we're not interested in that.
Yeah, no, that seems like that's not the game we're playing here or the game we're practicing for.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel like TC's the place that's come to realize that, like, that's a goal. Like, you can't achieve that by aiming directly at it. So we have to come to grips with the fact that, like, I can't save your soul, I can't fix your problems. But if we keep hanging out together, solutions might present themselves.
Yeah, I think ultimately none of us can save anyone. That's not what we're doing. But let's fractally. I think the nature of the sports we're playing, which is conversation, means that there's a sense in which I want you to understand me, and for me to understand you, I have to listen to you. I.e., in that sense, you win on that very shallow level, and there's a sense in which that's always going on in the practice that we're doing.
I don't want people to understand me, Tayo. I want to there's some people in my life that I want to be able to understand, and this is helping with that. Because I'm sheltered. I'm surrounded by people that are just like me, Tayo. No, so I don't know.
No, I think that's really important, because I'm glad you said that. Those are two different postures you can take in conversation: to be the one that wants to be understood, or the one doing the understanding. And that's sort of what I was playing at with me calling the other three people from the allegory cowards, because you can play the I just want to do the understanding. That doesn't mean that you don't have a place that you're standing on. You don't have a place that you're standing on, and if you do accommodate that too much, do too much listening, which can be done, it can make you're not being a good neighbor to the person doing the talking. Because if there are ways in which they're falling short and you're not pointing that out because you want to understand, then yeah, I think you're falling short.
Yeah, in the content and in their methodology. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to understanding, especially in the world of kind of like religion, there you hit a wall where ultimate understanding only happens when you convert, join, and begin participating. Like there's a qualitative difference between understanding from the outside versus from the inside as a participant. And so I guess that's the extent where in seeking understanding, the implicit hope is for, I know, soul saving, but I know you can't brute
So
force that.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was pointing out by saying, yeah, we're doing that. And
Hmm.
often we can sort of cast out the people that are more explicit in doing that and say they're not playing the game, but that's not true. They're just playing it uh, on on a higher level, or well, more explicitly than other people are. But it's
Thinking
still
back
just
to my days as like a toddler soccer ref, when the point you just throw the ball in the middle and it's just a cluster of kids running back and forth across the field. It's like, yeah, even the fundamentals they're not getting at yet, but they're on the field. It's I don't know, elementary.
so
I think that seems to be the difference. Just quickly, I'm thinking about that being the difference between practice and the real game might be. Like, if you don't have a level of trust with your conversational partners, that might still be I don't know, you might still be playing it to win, where these people aren't your teammates. They're your opponents you're trying to score points against. And
so
periodically, TLC gets invited to meet people who don't trust them but want to show up on their streams. And somehow we're so good at playing with our teammates on practice day, with who we have a high level of trust, and we'll kayfabe adversarial relationships with, which really helps us build trust even more. That when we got someone who just says, "I don't like what you're doing. I'm here to beat you." Like I don't know, our mouths slack open and we just listen to them talk for 2 hours.
Well, maybe
I say
one
that I
like
say that to
additional element to the
teammates.
game is again, if we talk about like I said, the explicit brute force kind of convert like attempts at soul saving. Maybe part of the game is teaching them to play the game with more finesse. Like teaching them there's other levels to this that
Yeah,
technically speaking are more effective, but you can't
and that involves
chase
trust,
effectiveness as a goal. Right.
bilateral
so
trust. Yeah,
So I guess I don't know if you're levels above someone in a game, sometimes you just need to kind of like lay them into the ground in order to show them who's boss.
yeah.
I guess
uh,
this is where I'm more with Mark Parker, who on the previous stream talked about people are very married to their presuppositions. And in this context, I guess people are very married. I don't know if it's easy to change the mode someone's wired in
can
because a
I
lot of
uh,
personality based as well as
can I give an example, Tayo? So I told Tayo about this a while ago, but I have a younger brother who joined Hare Krishna like 15 or 20 years ago. 15 for sure. And so we all grew up Christian Reformed, which is like a bit of a closed community. And I have there's 6 kids in my family. Like I have 5 siblings. And when he joined, and nobody nobody knows how to talk to him. So it's like so far out of our wheelhouse that we just don't understand it. And by hanging around here and learning quite a bit about religion on a not in the details but at the much higher level, and then learning how to talk to people, etc., I had the first real conversation with my brother, who is the one I'm closest with. He's 1 year younger than me.
That's
I had the
great.
first real conversation with him in like since high school, I guess. So maybe 20 years. And we stayed
That's
up late at a campfire at my parents' with everyone else had gone to bed, and one of my other brothers was there, and we just had a talk about religion and what he was doing with his life. And he's into it quite deep. Like he lives in the temple and tends the idols.
wow.
He's married now, but he was, the traveling priest or whatever you call it, the monk, I guess, that you would see in the airport in the orange getup. He's got the hairdo, you know, shaved except the weird little ponytail. And we've like it really confused the family. But anyways, not we're at a place of acceptance now, but still nobody could talk to him. So hanging around here and learning the posture, but also some of the information too. Like I still don't know a lot about Hare Krishna, but I can more intelligently talk about religion. And that's because of this place. So that's kind of a practical of what you guys are talking about.
Excellently done. And using stories is basically the joker of it. Sort of basically testimonies is what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, the thing that I find most productive is the question, like you got a brother who changed their mind dramatically. And that's like asking someone, how did you go from one major phase to another is super interesting.
I think it was drugs, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That'll do it. It's been known to.
Yeah,
If they're not against us, they're for us. If they're not against us, they're for us.
The
Well,
drugs?
that's the other part of my posture is I don't have the answers to that question yet. I see him like hopefully once a year. So I'm more patient.
To go back to the allegory, which I think again was a brilliant one. It's I'll keep referencing it, but I know most people probably didn't listen to the beginning. McMo, do you want to give a quick rundown again for the people that are just joining?
I'd rather not.
And I'm not going to either. Matsy, you're a storyteller. Are you able to?
With the jock allegory or with the jazz allegory?
With the jazz allegory.
Yeah, the idea simply being that okay, the love of the game thing I didn't understand too much. But the idea that like if you show up and you show up with an instrument and you want to play in a group, there's going to be listening and speaking involved in that. And the bigger, if it's a duo, it's going to be, you know, arguably half is going to be listening. If it's a trio, you're going to have to spend 2/3 of your time listening. That was what maybe that was just a small sliver of what McBo was handing out, and I just kind of ran with that. But I think there's value in that.
Yeah, the part or a few parts of it were salient to me. One is the different arena of being on the side of the corner versus having the prime real estate for where you can get the most attention, and the corner where there's less attention is where practice is taking place, and then the story goes to the numbers of people in the corner increases from 1 to 4, and one of the new addition people that join the corner is more seems to be not of practice but of game day, and it would be easy to just say no. Do you know what? You might as well just go to you don't belong in this arena where it's just for practicing, and you should go to the prime real estate where you can have your game day and be as perfect as you want the rest of us to be. We're just here to practice. But then you lose, both sides lose if that's how the story ends. But that's not what happened. Well, the story didn't end. It's an allegory. But the tension of having an arena and then someone that isn't seemingly playing by the rules of the arena, I think the easy solution is to kick them out of the arena. But I think the more useful thing is what Phlebas was referenced, which is why I brought that up. Which is, okay, how do I maintain this relationship? There seems to be, I don't understand what mode you're working with. It's very different to mine, but I'm not going to give up on the relationship, even though you seem to be to belong to a different arena to me.
That's tricky because you do have to bring them in to playing by a different rule structure just to explore that with them. And some of that is pretty subtle work, I think. It's valuable work, but you can't, if you just, this is the practice idea. This is like showing up for practice when it's really game day idea that we are susceptible to sometimes. If we just say, oh, look at this rule set that they're imposing, I just have to play by that rule set. I'm going to ask them questions. They're here to give me answers. I'm here to ask them questions. You know, that's not helping anybody. I think that speaks to your point, Tayo. You're actually not helping them be a better player by just accepting those rules just because they're being assertive about them. You know, that's not the metric by which we evaluate rules, is how forceful are they being applied. You know.
Yeah, but we could bring in we were playing the local stuff, so I'll go with hockey. And when you have a pickup game and somebody shows up like it's game day and they start cross-checking and fighting, and you're all 40 years old and you have to go to work in the morning, it's like the wrong place. So I don't know. It's a different game. It's still important. You're still trying to stay in shape. You're still trying to get better at hockey, but not everything has to be the championship. Like, those people can go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's good
So
too.
if we return to the musical analogy, is there a difference between like a show and a jam session? Because the jam session's kind of practice, but it's also kind of public, if I'm not mistaken. And I think that's what this more feels like most of the time, is like this is a jam session where we're going to get better through practicing, but it's also performative.
You're getting us out of the binary. That's so valuable. There we go. We have a third tier to this. There's a third leg on this stool now. Jam session. Yeah.
Don't put that up. Come on, McMo. It's a permanent record there.
Did we save it? I think we saved it.
Maybe we need to change topics.
Yeah. Maybe.
I think we need to listen to what McMo's been working on. Let's. How's the music coming along?
Tell me that you've lived here your whole life. No, not yet. Are you married? No, no bad habit. No bad habit, eh? Well, what do you chew that tobacco for? For nothing. Nobody's fool enough to pay me for it. Well, tell me, how far is it to the next crossroads? Follow your nose and you'll come to it. Follow your nose, follow your nose and you'll left.
we had a lot of activity in the chat. Is the
pushback.
on-screen talent a little tired? Have
Oh,
we
God.
worn ourselves out? Do I need to drop the link again?
Yeah, drop it, but don't drop it. Just send it to Martra exclusively so he comes in and
Yeah. Mark Jackson can fix this. He can fix anything.
We can switch topics.
What do you got, Phlebas?
I'm annoyed at the kayfabe stuff. I sent Matt some messages. He probably
Speak
didn't
on it, brother. Speak on it. Air it out.
I haven't listened
Just keep
yet.
it chill, but
Please.
air it out.
Well, Matt was on stream the other day. I would like to hear everyone's definition of the kayfabe, because a lot of Matt was focusing on like the heel and basically the good guys and the bad guys, and how you produce a narrative. But that's like not interesting at all. The interesting part about the kayfabe is how you take, in wrestling, you take a fake event and you weave in a bunch of real elements to make people, basically to confuse people and to buy into the fake event more. So in the original video, the guy sits on the stage, right? So they've gone through their whole song and dance. The good guy, the bad guy, the third guy comes in, but then he steals the mic and he breaks the fourth wall. So breaking the fourth wall is like a little bit of realness sprinkled in with the fake, but it's still fake. You know, there's a mic and there's a camera. And then the dude starts sprinkling in real stuff, right? Well, these people are messing with the business and these people are going to take over and I'm being shut out. And that's all true. And as he sprinkles in real things, and then his mic gets cut off, which is obviously fake. And the point of the kayfabe video was that you go deep enough on the layers and people can't tell what's going on anymore. And so when people say politics is kayfabe, I get a little annoyed, because with wrestling, the bottom of all those layers is fake. So even if somebody has like a real relationship, if two wrestlers get married, you're always questioning it. You're always like, oh, that's kind of fake. Even if they have a kid, it's like a kayfabe kid. It's sort of fake. And
This is good.
yeah,
This is really good.
You can always go, the bottom layer is always fake. And then we apply it to politics. We say, oh, politics is kayfabe. But politics is the real arena. The bottom layer, no matter how much narrative or spin or whatever they try to add into politics, or staged events like Trump and Zelensky, the bottom of real life is real. Unless you're a conspiracy theorist, in which case everything that happens, you go to the wrestling move and you say, oh, that's fake. And it's dangerous to do that, because you'll see conspiracy theorists, even with something like a natural event, a hurricane becomes, if they're in that wrestling frame of mind, a hurricane strikes and they're like, oh, that's the CIA or something ridiculous like that, right? But we can't just say, oh, politics is kayfabe just because they're trying to promote a narrative. It's almost like an inverted kayfabe. They're adding fake things onto the real, instead of like wrestling where they add real things onto the fake. And then the other thing I just wanted to say is it's really dangerous, right? So when you start mixing stuff together, it's not only the audience that gets confused, it's also the characters. So Hulk Hogan starts, instead of just at the wrestling event, he starts adding fake things to his real life. So he actually has to go to the grocery store, real, but he goes in character, right? Fake. So he's now doing, I would call it an inverted kayfabe. And where the audience is confused about the wrestling world and they can't tell what's real, what's fake, the bottom is fake, Hulk Hogan becomes confused about his real life. And whoever he was, his name before, that person is gone. Like, he has kayfabed himself out of existence. And so we have to, so Trump has kind of done that to himself. He's playing a character. he's now it's different with Trump. I think he truly is the character. He's trying to entertain, to sell a narrative. But anyways, I just want to push back a little bit on, because I think there's two different kayfabes going on, the politics and the wrestling. And as my last point, I'll say, don't kayfabe yourself out of existence, McMo. If you play McMosive too much, you're going to forget who Matt is. And you'll meet everyone at Midwestuary, and they'll treat you like McMo instead of Matt. And then you'll Hulk Hogan yourself out of existence. There's my rant.
That was great. From the rafters.
From the Raptors.
What do we do with that? That was really good. That was a really good
Well,
putback.
you won me back in the end with don't kayfabe yourself out of reality. But before we get into the politics, I think this is where I once again out myself when I make most stream as a wrestling nerd. You're mixing work and kayfabe. Kayfabe is not neutral, so there's quality to kayfabe. And what that quality of kayfabe is based on is... Okay, let me start with this. Kayfabe basically defines the relationship between the wrestlers and the fans, the performers and the audience. And what makes the performers believable to the audience is how well they buy into the story that the performer is telling. And there's a way in which you can do it and the audience don't buy into it. The kayfabe is still there, it's just the work is bad. You're still attempting kayfabe, but the work is bad. So you can do kayfabe effectively, and doing it effectively is mixing reality, not reality as in what's going on in your real life, but reality as in the morality between good and evil, how that plays out. That's the anchor that makes kayfabe real to the audience, makes it believable to the audience. So in terms of how that affects politics, it's just everyone's noticing it. So it's bad. It's a bad work. That's what's happening. It's not that we're saying it's not real. We're saying, oh, this is not this you're exposing the business is the wrestling term for it. You're doing a bad work.
Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't think it bottoms out into not real. I think it bottoms out into, are you telling a good story, a believable story or not?
This thing working or no?
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, sweet. I'm glad you guys didn't kayfabe me out of believing that it didn't work.
Well, we've even got pro wrestling language for what this is talking about. There's a way that pro wrestling integrates that phenomenon. You can work yourself into a shoot, right? Where you actually, the shoot is when it becomes real, or you think it's real. So you can kayfabe yourself into embodying it, where the work is obliterated and everything. The work does become reality, and that's what it's a shoot. My understanding.
Yeah,
It's like Marilyn Manson or something. Basically, he kind of forgets that he's Brian Warner over the years.
Well, the other point I want to make is this is all connected to pro felicity, right?
I was just thinking
absolutely.
Once we're all on display here, we are little slivers of profiles, and then they keep feeding, right? So instead of, I don't even know what's real anymore, but you get people who play up to their profiles. So maybe Matt C really does love tiki bars, but then he plays it up on Twitter and makes it part of his character. And maybe it feeds back into real life and he starts attending them more.
He's got
and it changes who Matt is.
Hasn't he got an entire? You wrote a recipe book for. Yeah, I think
Matt might be fully integrated. I might be wrong on that.
That's a shoot. That's a shoot. It's not a work.
I'm carving tiki bugs right now as we talk.
Yeah, but people,
I think
you end
I
up playing the character, right? So McMo drops his Ko-Fi link
think
more
Matsi's-
than natural.
Matt sees kayfabe is kumbaya.
Yeah, and what's tiki? Tiki is cultural appropriation. That's my kayfabe. My kayfabe in every element, like you got to show up with what your angle is. What's your prop? You know, what's your makeup going to look like? What's your how are people going to view you and know how to root for you? You know, that's something you got to write. And if you don't write it, it's going to be written for you. And I think that's more dangerous. So it's better, I think, to write it for yourself. And I like the cultural appropriation angle because there's a kumbaya element in that. There's an ignorance and self-effacing quality in that. And I don't know. I think there's a lot you could do with that. I think it's positive and fun. And if I didn't pick that, something else would be picked for me. And that's when you get worked into a shoot, I think, a lot more dangerously. If you define the parameters, what your character, quote unquote, is with this prolificity, and you're very intentional about it, then I think you've got a better immune response. But maybe I've worked myself into a shoot. I don't know it.
Well, you're carving mugs, not of your own volition. You have to satisfy the character now.
Yeah, but like even some of the terminology gets really kayfabe because like even when we bring up cultural appropriation, I'm like where does the fact end, or where does like the actual like that's what's funny. So I think like when we say cultural appropriation, that's I think what I was trying to talk about with Nathan was like I think I understand what you mean by that. But like, I still have a desire to ask what you mean by that, because there are many meanings of it. But like cultural appropriation, just to say English words, who are we appropriating? And you know, like, it's just goofy. It gets so goofy and irrelevant most of the time, I think, unless it's relevant when you want to make the argument. I guess I don't know what I'm saying.
It's a fun angle to play in TLC in particular. I think I developed it when I started playing in the TLC space because I think at its base level, at its most neutral, it's you saying, "I don't know what you're doing over there, but I like it. I want to be a part of it, and I'm gonna pantomime what you're doing over there because I'm trying to learn your moves." And it's at its base, it's meant to be. I think it's almost a form of flattery, you know, imitation. But it's also acknowledgement that you're over there and I'm over here, and there's a distance. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't know what that's about. That distance, but I'm trying to bridge that distance in some way. And I think a lot of people, you know, like Chad's got his angle on expressing those same kind of principles. I think, and I think Big Mo's got that. Grimm's got that. But you got to be intentional about it, because if you're not intentional, that intentionality gets turned on you, I think, and then you forget where reality is a lot quicker.
So you're saying like cultural appropriation to become culturally appropriate? Is that like kind of the play on words you're having there?
Oh, that's fun.
Cultural
I don't know.
appreciation.
Yeah. You know.
How you doing, Tunji?
I've been having many thoughts, and I think that I have too many of them. I was trying to follow that.
Start with the first thought. Start with the first thought, and then go to the second thought, and then by that means we can get to all the thoughts.
Okay.
To get to the first thought, put money in that Ko-Fi.
If we keep interrupting him, we can make him forget half of the thoughts he had.
Oh, you're right.
Number one was when I came in, we were still talking about music, and that was the thing that got my attention. Was that there was some allegory that thought to go on to, but then Sign in the dust in the chat to drop a disagreement, and I say, okay, I'm going to address this disagreement because it seems to be relevant to many of the conversations that we have today on this stream and on the previous one. And then we start talking about kayfabe, and I thought, okay, that's something that I talk with Sartori as well, and there is maybe we're not going to go to politics again. So we are applying that to the TLC or something, the kayfabe. So then we are talking about prophilicity, and then I start losing the thread because there are too many things that are we talking about at the same time. So maybe bring it back, Tayo, because I'm thinking.
No, Tunji, you had it. I think you did a great job weaving all of that together, because I didn't even realize that's what we were doing, was applying the kayfabe lens to TLC to get prophilicity. That was
And that
That
is
was really
also
good.
the critique of Marcher in a way, because there is some cop in whatever we are doing for sure, because that cop, you can call it voluntary participation in a fake game where the rules are not well described, but there is a sense where we don't aggressively contradict each other and let the first rule is to let the game continue, just to do not stop the game. Whatever happened, make it go on with the best vibe possible. But sometimes it feels like are we really having a conversation, or are we pretending to having a conversation about, because that's what some people may argue sometimes. Maybe it's just my distraction at some point that lose the thread, but from in other occasions that's really the case. We are pretending to have a discussion, and then we are on a stage and people are watching a conversation where there is an illusion of a point, and as long as you cannot answer, you can just go on with a kayfabe, and it's a little bit tricky.
Well, I think conversations like this and what you're doing right now helps to break it and make sure keep it integral, or keep the integrity. There's plenty of games played, and they're like Parlato's saying, I think there are rules. And I also agree, I'm not my problem if you're too autistic to notice. It's also true. I think what's so for me inviting about the whole thing is that we don't have to be overly pedantic about the rules, but when they are crossed, it's interesting. It's an interesting thing. But I appreciate what you're saying, Tunji. Yeah, get it on, bro.
Oh,
that was Chad. Shut up. See, there are rules.
Yeah, there are rules for sure, but I think we can address one. We can go back to the conversation backward. So one thing with prophilicity and the cases that Sartori was making, and I told him something that probably it didn't get enough. I didn't get attention, but with the profile and with the kayfabe, we can only judge the things that are on the stage, and in certain cases, the stage is extended through social media or through cameras here and there. The social media is expanded, but it's still what is inside of the camera. And we can only judge what we see. We cannot judge what we don't see. So all this warning or this awareness of the theatrical aspect of reality is kind of redundant, because that's you don't have you're not seeing behind the curtains. You're just seeing what is presented to you, and you see what are the effects of what is happening on the stage. In the case of politics, you see what are the real political changes and decrees and stuff. And with people, you see what's your relationship with them. So there is not much to analyze further. It's kind of okay. Now I am aware of some fakeness of some pretending of in front of me. Now what? It's in the real world, it is completely unconsequential. But when it comes to the TLC, I hope that we can be more honest with each other. I was disagreeing with the epistemic hygiene proposed by the previous character on stream. But for instance, I have, if he has disagreement with Verveke and McGilchrist, I see that and I double them. I have more than that. But if your argument is based on vibes, or you don't want you present an intellectual conversation, but then you appeal to some anti-intellectualism, or as he was doing, he appeals to some philosophical epistemological argument, but then when asked, he refused to engage in philosophy and in making the case for his epistemic. I don't want that we all do that. If we talk about theology, and occasionally we do talk about the theological stuff, and I ask a question or respond with a theological point, I don't want people to go back, yeah, but that's I'm not a theologian, or things like that, answer like that, because or either we are engaging with these topics sincerely, or we are just pretending that there is some engagement around here that is supposed to be primarily relational, but it doesn't work. End of the rant.
There was a lot there. I thought I had something to say about 5 minutes ago, and then you put me on it. I was like, oh, that's even more to chew on, because of course, this isn't considered as new to anyone that spent any amount of time in voice chat. But I want to do, if all of what you said was sort of what I was pointing at when I mentioned the cowardness of the other three people that think that practice doesn't mean quality has to be good. And Fleabus rightfully pushed back to say, okay, there's an arena. And I think, to your point, what TLC is not good at, and Matty pointed this out a while ago, is recognizing when the arena changes, or when through conversation you've put yourself into a different arena that's going to invite a new audience. And the other thing I wanted to point out is the fact that this is on the internet, and a feature of TLC is to keep asking people to come and play. And if you keep asking people to come and play, and you say all they have to do is show up, well, because those are the explicit invitational rules for TLC, is come and play and show up.
Good point.
And then smuggle in this, but you have to play this way, and really this is all just play. It's not really about anything, it's all just play. I think there is a disingenuous to a way. But the other side of that is what that are thought for. I think Younger basically said it earlier when he said, guys, there is nothing wrong. There is no wrong answer. That's why this is fun and virtually endless. But there are wrong answers because, like I said, the fact that what we're doing is speaking to each other means that we're comparing. Oops, is that me? No, that's not me.
No, that's me. My bad.
No problem. Yeah, the fact that we're speaking to each other means, in Sherry terms, we're casting spells, and some spells are stronger than other spells, to woo ups. Meaning, and Nathan was pointing to that as through the lens of truth, and TLC tries to smuggle vibe in by coming in through the lens of beauty, and this is where Marcha would come in with the Maritan and all of those things about beauty. That beauty isn't just a vibe thing. There is objective truth. Truth, beauty have to work together for it to be truly beautiful. Otherwise, you're just bullshitting yourself. So yeah, to an extent, I think that there is there. But what the vagueness, the vibiness of it all, the thought for, is for different, well, hypothetically, is for different relationships to be formed and see how all different parties play together, to afford perspective or knowledge. Going back to what Flibbers was saying, okay, how do I relate, understand people that in my life, real life, that I don't have a way of connecting with? If I meet enough weirdos on the internet, maybe I might gain some language that affords that connectivity.
Hey guys, my internet is lagging really bad, so I'm gonna hop out of here. But I had a lot of fun with you guys.
You sound good, Chad.
Yeah.
Just real quick, it reminds me of who's that one psychologist that Peterson used to always talk about that studied the kids? What's his nuts?
Can I ask you a question before you leave, Chad? Too.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, right away. Do you actually feel embattled as a Lutheran? You were pretty excited about the Lutheran the other day.
Embattled. I don't know what embattled means, but I thought it was really cool to run into somebody else who was a Lutheran who clearly had more knowledge about the subject than I did.
Yeah, wasn't he great? He's a cool kid.
Oh no.
Yeah,
He is lagging.
Totally.
Yeah, there's the lag.
Who's Lutheran?
Some American expat with a mustache and a cool hat.
He's been on a few times. I think it's Zach.
Yeah, Zach.
He posts under "Come into the Forest" or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I for one, I appreciate Chad's growing identity as this emergent identity as a Lutheran. Kind of neat. Kind of bring some other angles to this, I think. I don't know. I find this stuff fascinating because I just don't see kayfabe as fake versus real. It could be coming from the South where we're constantly playing in this arena of multiple levels of saying one thing could be meaning another. I would think a Canadian would understand that.
I think Flibbers was speaking. Sorry, go on, Matt.
I mean, that's pretty much it. Just like I think kayfabe is enormously real and enormously helpful because you probably shouldn't say you shouldn't articulate things exactly the way you're feeling them or exactly the way you think that they are at most times, at most points, some situations in the day. There's subcultures that lead into that really heavily with some drawbacks. There's some cultures that where that's really not popular to do anything other than just to state exactly where you're coming from with as much force and vivacity as you can muster, you know. And I like TLC. I think TLC is pretty comfortable with kayfabe. You know, like there's a positioned kayfabe that people like Chad and you know, the virtually not alone crew play into. But I think most of what we're doing, I don't know if it's just saying, I don't know, maybe some people are just saying whatever, you know, because we're virtually not alone and it's all just a game in that sense. But I think the important conversations, there's still like a profiled investment so that we can get at it a bit better, I think, so that we can hold things a bit looser, so we can make sure that things aren't falling out of our hands, so to speak. You know, if you grip it too hard, stuff slips between your fingers.
So
I think kayfabe kind of helps you, you know?
I think there is one point, one reason for kayfabe when it comes to politics is that, as far as I've been told, politics is very ugly, and we don't want to look at it. So we put a facade from the politician system that it make it look more appealing to the public, so we can vote with less burden on our conscience and feeling a little bit less miserable every time there is an election. So it's huge facade. And with the wrestling thing, that was also because wrestling was very boring. It's incredibly boring as a sport to watch. So, and to make it more interesting to look at it, they made it that they start scripting the fights. But you know, those two things exist in that form because they were entertainment in a sense. They were to be presented to the public, and their monetary value and their effectiveness was proportional to how much those things were appealing to the public. But whatever we are doing here, or whatever is has to do even with profilicity on a private normal level, doesn't have to do with selling a product. You know, I hope so. There is no compulsion to create a beautiful facade for something that we are selling, because we are not selling.
LARP! We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard.
Griff harder, griff harder. Griff harder, griff harder. Griff harder, griff harder.
LARP! We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard.
Griff harder, griff harder.
That was a McMo one, I think. I believe that was a McMo masterpiece. I think that was his stylistic impression, signature.
Yes, donate to the Ko-Fi. McMo still has to get to Chicago comfortably. Click to the link. Having said that, yeah. What do you think?
I mean, are we really confused year 5 of TLC about the value of having a safe space, an arena in which there's zero stakes because it's online with randos, or we could talk about things to the extent that we want to be honest, or or pantomime ideas, kayfabe out ideas in a way, so that we could better have those conversations in real life with our neighbors and family. Are we really not seeing the value of this performance arena for real life social situations?
I want to throw something in there. I want to correct something. It is not zero stakes. I think the stakes are very high, and the stakes have not to do with each of us. I think, personally, I think, like I was saying before, for me, the whole purpose of the play meme and the kayfabe, if you want to call it that, is because it's to keep the door open. Because I know that I can't exactly tell you why I've been helped or how I've been helped, but I know that I have, and I think that's very valuable. Just as like Phlebas was talking about the ability to have a conversation with his brother. I mean, that's got to be worth at least 5 years of TLC in itself.
Yeah.
So, like that's the stakes. It's not without stakes. Now, if you want to take that portion of that seriously, I would say that's a good idea. But for me, it's nested in. It's not play. It's funny how play gets such a weird. It gets such like a weird rap around here because like when I say play, I don't think I mean exactly like play, but I mean play. So
agree, Chad. There are even in a scripted match there are stakes. There are to be, otherwise really becomes all meaningless. And even if we are just practicing arguments and conversation, I hope that we practice ideas that we care about or something that we are interested in. That would be a kind of I hope nobody come and just talk about things that doesn't really care and or that feels that really what he thinks doesn't have an implication for a bigger picture,
Maybe it's just
society
lower
or whatever.
stakes. Like I just when I'm thinking of low stakes, I mean like I'm more willing to share, and I'm hoping that you're more willing to share than I would get from most people in person in most situations. Like my random coworker, like I might lean into something a bit more because there's a higher trust fidelity that we're working with, and the lower stakes. It's high trust, low stakes. You can do a lot with that, but these are really important things. I'm not saying they're not important.
Would you be comfortable having TLC type conversation with someone you work with at the Symbolic World Press? I'm saying that because I think it's more so to do if there's a talking point. So if someone that I work with at the bakery factory of New Viveki, I think we would get lost in conversation very quickly because there's a talking point and there's a meeting point where we can meet. So I think it's why the Peterson Sphere is named the Peterson Sphere because they say that's the talking point.
yeah, but there's still TLC. Suckers.
Yeah, if TLC has any value, it's people like you and me being more likely to have better, deeper conversations with random people because we practiced in the arena here where there's lower stakes. First.
No, most people that come to my in-person estuaries don't practice on TLC. They're just aware of they watch like 5 PVK videos a year and maybe a couple Peterson one.
Yeah,
I will channel.
There's TLC
I have
and
to
there's
channel
TLC.
I have to channel Grim Grits here, man. We are real people here on the screen. There are real people. You are interacting with a real person. There is no real life outside. This is real life. So I don't think that
It's very endearing that everyone's pushing back against this. It's actually really charming.
No, I don't.
We're real.
I bit at something that wasn't the main point that you were making. I think I don't think the value of this space is in question, and my evidence for that is just how many Christians there are. Because, like McMo said, Christians have to give account for how they spend their time to the Creator. So there's on that level, the stake is very high. So meaning Christians will spend time in a place where there's value as it relates to their worldview. So I think that part is implicit, but true, because of the Christian worldview that we all share on the screen at the moment. Apart from that, I think there's, like Tunji said, even on the chill stream today, we've been speaking about some very important things. People that affect to different people. Phlebas did some what's the disruptive cognition as it relates to kayfabe when we're playing. Okay, what do you see and what do I see? That part in and of itself is valuable. So I don't think the value of what we're doing here is in question. I think what the conversation is what are the implicit rules that are actually explicit, i.e., what Macho was pointing at is you guys talk about play, but you're doing serious um, theological and philosophy. You're having serious theological and philosophical conversation, and you don't want the burden of you're playing on the side on the alleyway. You don't want to be on the main streets where you can be judged. That's sort of the accusation from Macho is are you're playing music, they're playing music on the main streets, so you're doing the same thing. Just because you've carved off this little space for yourself where it can be where people's feelings can't get hurt doesn't
Because
mean
it's
that
low stakes, bro. It's low. That Barcher is identified.
Midwestuary 2025, August 22nd through the 24th in Elmhurst, Illinois. A weekend you won't want to miss with special guests Cale Zeldin, Paul Vanderclay, Rod Dreer, Elizabeth Oldfield.
Low stakes.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Matt. I'm sorry.
It's clear. I mean, yeah. Ask Phlebas. Is it lower stakes to talk to Tayo about, or how about who's someone different to talk
it's
to
lower
Marcy
stakes.
Parker or his brother about the same topics?
It's weirdly
very good point,
easier.
Matt.
All right, new topic. Come on. We need something from McMo, maybe.
Drop the link for Neil. Neil's always got 10 topics
Yeah.
to put on the table.
No, yeah, Neil's got something.
Sherry likes my topic.
I was still thinking about the first one about music, and there is a maybe in America there is some overlap that is not immediately obvious otherwise elsewhere between sports and music. And I'm thinking about Whiplash. Was Whiplash the movie? Yeah, that was one great sport movie, not a music one. Because if we take the metaphor of playing together, improvising or otherwise, and if we assume that maybe we are practicing, owning our skill together, it's not the same thing as practicing a sport or a game, because there is no winning in music. It's not a competition. You're not defeating the other team when you play your solo faster. So if we apply the metaphor of practicing on these two, things are going to fit differently. I don't know.
I think that's why
Hi, Neil.
the third leg of the stool was jam sesh, meaning
Yeah,
it's
that was.
that. I think
That's
that's where you wanted to come in. Go for it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Because I remember fondly many good jam session that I was doing when first I started playing jazz. It was very exciting, and there was a place where there were, open session, and you can jump on the instrument on the stage and play. And there were very experienced player, and then many like me just kind of trying out, And what was on a stage was with the place was with people paying the ticket, buying drinks. So they were not going there to see simply people practicing, so you go on the stage, you play a song that possibly maybe you have studied before and you agree, okay, that song I know well, let's play this one. So there is still a part where you are training, you are getting the best training possible while you are on the stage, but you're not doing the exercise like when you are at your own in your own room alone with your instrument, doing the scales and the other boring things. So it's not really, it's you're performing, and you are very aware that you are performing there, but you're getting better at it because more you do it, more actually you get the skill, the actual skill that you cannot get just playing alone in your room. It's you'll never get there otherwise.
You see something? There's something really interesting there. Yeah, there's something really neat about we're acknowledging the performance, but we're not falling into the paradigm is this real or fake because it's a performance. It could be a performance and real. That's really interesting. That should be clarifying, I think, with what we're doing with all these kind of mediated conversations. There's several layers of technology, formatting, and the implicit expectations against the official expectations about what we're even doing in these corners. There's a performance, but it's very real.
Yeah, depend on the purpose. The purpose of an aesthetic performance is to make something beautiful. If we having the purpose of an intellectual conversation is to get to something true. If we miss out on that purpose part, then we are not simply faking. We are missing the mark completely on what we are doing.
Yeah.
What
but
if
we're trying to do something beautiful and true? But that's where it gets tricky. And Marsher's right, but we can't sleep on either of those. We have to do them both together.
– Neil, get his ass.
What's up?
Get
Who
his
am I
ass.
getting?
You know who.
Get us a topic, Neil.
I maybe I could thread a needle between Matt and Chad on high stakes. Why it is high stakes, but it's a light touch. Do we believe that everything we say and do matters? And everything we say and do lasts for eternity. You could say you're forgiven, but Jesus is resurrected with holes in his hands, hole in his side. It's still an eternity that, he was crucified. So, yeah, I think we're emulating, and it's just an emulation because we're not in person, but I think we're emulating both proper conversation and proper relationship and pursuit of truth. But I would say it's not just pursuit of truth, it's pursuit of um, truth in conjunction with the spirit of whatever time, whatever spirits are affecting us. Yeah, TLC's difference from, let's say, a Christian YouTube space that's has the same fellowship that we do, because I think those exist, and or TLC's difference versus an atheistic space that has the same fellowship. I think is that we are not how do I say it? We are not removed from the culture. Like, we're still, we don't believe that the culture is irredeemable, you could say. So we're still I'm sort of rambling here, but I really value all the cultural engagement of PBK. You know, it's not his sermons. I don't get me wrong, I like some of his sermons. It's not the theological that keeps me in TLC or got me hooked in the first place. It's the engagement of what it means to be a Christian in our present moment, in our present culture. And it's my rejection of stuff like the Benedict option, and my rejection of, okay, we shouldn't use technology at all. And now I could be wrong about that. The Amish could be right, but I don't know. I'm not willing to give it up. I'm not willing to give up the technology. So it's
All
an
right,
attempt to
Phlebas.
thread the needle.
All right, Phlebas, what are
What's
we
up?
running away from? Why this navel gazing? And I'm not blaming you for it, Neil. But Phlebas is commenting in the private chat. I'm airing it out.
I can only take so much.
He can only take so much navel gazing. So what are we running away from? Why are we scared? Why do we feel this need to rally the troops and redefine what brings us together? What dragon are we fleeing from?
I don't know.
It's a recursive algorithm.
We brought in a designated hitter, and Neil's supposed to pitch us. Oh shoot, I mixed the metaphor.
Yeah, that's one thing that's certainly not allowed in these parts. We do not allow any mixed metaphors whatsoever. And honestly, Phlebas, that is deserving of one of these.
No. Well, we don't do that.
I thought Tunji rage quit on me. Phlebas, what is it that triggers you or upsets you the most within the corner? And let's make that the topic.
Oh, that's even a worse topic. That's like the meta navel gazing.
Oh no. Voice chat,
God.
navel gazing. It's the worst.
Let's talk about Mary. We've been avoiding it. No, I'm kidding.
Let's talk about Mary. Let's go. The sole Catholic, ill-versed. No, that's not right. Tunji's Protestant. That's right.
Tunji's been training his whole life for this.
Just keep it chill, you know. You don't want to be guilty. You don't want to be guilty of saying yo mama jokes to the Lord himself.
Is Matt? Wait. Is Matt C a Methodist?
Presbyterian, bro. You're cooked.
Oh,
You're cooked, Neil.
Man, we have no Methodists in the
You're
corner.
cooked, Neil. You're cooked, bro. This is you.
Where are the Methodists?
Enemy territory.
Do you know the method man? The method man.
You forgot how Neil we are.
This is the most Protestant space in the TLC. You got the Protestant heavy hitters here. And Tunji, best among us, honestly. So, like, bring it on, brother. We got a list of things that you guys are just getting wrong.
Protestants have all the worst dancing songs. And, we'll just embody, and Catholics are far better dancers and far better drinkers.
You're
and there we
taking the
go.
Christian absurdist thing. You're weighing too heavily on the absurdism and not enough on the Christianity, my boy.
Here, I got a question.
Did Jesus dance in Protestantism?
Here's my question. So Sherry was talking. I forget how she put it. The symbolism is true or something. So with the Mary stuff, well, and actually people should also watch that Peugeot Lightheart conversation. They were going really hard into the typology. So my question is around typology. How much how much of what say Peugeot does or what Lightheart was doing, how much, and then we'll connect this to the Marian dogmas, how much of typology is really speculative? Like, I hope I'm seeing the correct pattern, because a lot of the dogmas are, my complaint basically is they're doing typology and then they require it for salvation. So they make it a dogma. And I like the typology stuff. I like the typology conversation. I like the Marian typology, but then
I have to Google typology. Keep going.
it becomes required.
Well, I coincidentally I'm listening to a series that I will recommend to everybody from the Association of Hebrew Catholics, Professor Lawrence Feingold, and I am series 7 that is whole dedicated to the Virgin Mary. And I did watch the conversation with this last Peugeot video. It was interesting. It was most of it was some classical content that you will find in a Bible study. Two professor of Bible study chit-chatting about rediscovery of some of the church fathers, maybe, and then the usual criticism for the 19th century biblical criticism and all of that branch of critical analysis. I was hoping, because there is a big thread, and maybe you Flibas can you have, or Matt, you have some more insight on it. How do they actually meet Peugeot and that professor that I cannot say the name?
Lightheart? I can talk typology.
Yeah, not about the typology, because the things that they were talking about typology is kind of map territory mostly. Then we can talk about it in the specific. It's very interesting for sure. But I want to understand, and that's one thing that I've been exploring, the connection between the Pajovians and the symbolic world and their whole metaphysics, basically, and the Neo-Calvinists, because CW, for instance, was one that was able to grasp the early on the connection between the two. But it's not something that is immediate on the hearer or those who check Jonathan Peugeot or PVK, you know. So I am curious about that. They did not go into it. They did not touch much about metaphysics, but there is this agreement that is not obvious between the Eastern Orthodox and that specific branch of Protestantism. You know, it's a weird, for me it's weird, and I'm trying to learn more about it, so I throw it there. The typology, yeah, I was talking with some people in the voice chat, and I invite more people to come in the voice chat. I am often there in the Broken Clock Tavern, and you can test your idea, and I will disagree with you honestly and patiently as possible. Yeah, there is this because for once I will appeal with typology to my Pentecostal biblical exegesis. You know, that there is the Holy Spirit actually instructing and illuminating things that are spiritual truth of the Bible, and typology is the one of the best example how the Holy Spirit illuminate the Bible interpreter. And in the New Testament, you see a lot of those examples of the apostle and even Jesus making the case for, oh, this is a type, this is a type, and maybe it was not obvious since the beginning, but then the things was open. And if you believe in the tradition and in the history of the church, you have that that deposit of faith. Okay, that you have the saints that say this is that was a typology. This was a type, and for most part, you can.
I have a humble request. Can we use a specific example versus these lofty abstractions that
I can give you two, Neil.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
like
Yep.
partially they say Mary is sinless, and they connect up. She's a type of the Holy of Holies, or she's a type of Ark. So Mary's like the fulfillment of two of those images in the Old Testament, and they're connected together. And I'll say one other thing. The interesting part about the Lightheart thing is that the reason I was asking about how speculative typology is and what we're supposed to do with it is because they went down this road. He alluded to it in the Peugeot conversation, and I don't know enough about this, but they went down this road where all the types of things that were said about baptism, they said, we believe all of that. And then they, I guess, developed this thing called federal vision, and they took it a little bit too far, and he actually got kicked out of his denomination. Well, the denomination thought he took it too far, and because it led to stuff like, well, if you accept everything, all the typological things said about baptism throughout the scriptures, and then you baptize your infant and you say all those things just happened, then there's implications to that. Like they started accepting children at the table because they're automatically regenerate Christians because we baptize them, and the water isn't just symbolic, it's typological, and typological are intimately connected. So this truly happened. It connects into the Dutch denominations. There's this thing about presumptive regeneration, what's actually happening when you baptize an infant. And then you could connect it to the Marian dogmas, which are slipping my mind right now, but they're all like Mary's a reflection of other images. Baptism is a reflection of the flood. It's a type. Baptism is a reflection of Moses in the Nile, all this type of stuff.
Well, they are not.
Can I jump in here a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm talking.
Yeah.
Oh, Matt, go Matt.
Yeah, because one of the things about like typology, one of the things that's a difficult thing to discuss is it requires a lot of specialized knowledge to really be conversant in the field. Like what you mentioned a second ago. Remind me your name. Taraj. Tuji.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you mentioned the fact you described the illumination of the reader. Well, I think a lot of the typology in scripture is more the illumination of the writer. So a lot of it is these like direct textual connections that are pretty visible if you can read the original languages. So there's some pretty clear allusions, like the thing about like Mary being the ark in the New Testament. There's some sections where, like, if you look at the Greek found at the end of the Septuagint, you can see that at the very least there's a metaphor, if not a type, going on, being hyper Protestant over here. But if you don't have the knowledge to play with the language, you're kind of stuck with whatever my priest or my pastor said so. So it's hard to play without, like, it's hard to get a lot of experience in there without certain specialized knowledge.
Well, I'm not sure about that, quite frankly, because some of the, for instance, one aspect is that most of those typology, they are not speculative. They are self-explained in the canon of the scripture itself. So mostly from the Old to the New Testament, the things that Phlebas, you're saying about the baptism, those are not speculation of extra canonical.
No, I didn't say they were. But if you don't like know the languages, you can't see how it's not speculative. So it sounds like Bible code conspiracy theory nonsense.
I don't know, maybe in some example, but in the one of the baptism, for instance, that there is no need to to learn any special language to get the point.
I mean, if you want to do more than just be like, this passage reminds me of this passage, and
No,
looking at some of the details, you can see how like, well, no, the author is consciously hearkening back to this passage in the Old Testament, like drawing an intentional connection between these two things. Like it's not speculative, but it's hard to see a lot of
I'm not talking about reference. I'm talking, for instance, the Apostle Paul saying that was Paul, maybe in Hebrew, that the people of Israel were baptized in the Jordan River and the Red Sea. So
or Christ and Adam. Christ and Adam is another one.
Yeah, so those are not connection that requires you to understand the origin, to read the original language to see the intent of the author. No, that's the explanation of the event already there. The problem that with the Mariology thing is that there is no such explanation in the New Testament about types of Mary in the Old Testament. But the claim is that at the same time is not really speculative. I do like some Thomas Aquinas here because he does a lot of reasoning on how the things should be fitting or appropriate. One argument that, for instance, that make the case for the perpetual virginity of Mary, another dogma of the Catholic faith, is that it will be rationally and for all reason fitting that Joseph and Mary did not have a conjugal relationship after the birth of Jesus. So is that a speculation? Is that an argument for from silence? Yeah, maybe, but still, you have a solid argument from reason that is perfectly coherent with the rest of the teaching of the Bible. So you have a principle of non-contradiction. You have things that should not contradict themselves when you do something that can be a speculation. So that is one case that I have on top of my mind, but I don't know if I want to express myself more on others.
It's almost as if there needs to be a play arena in which, within the circle of trust, we can kind of explore the limits of things relatively safely because it's not game day. And then there are some core things where actually consequences happen.
Yeah, and that's my point.
There are some first things. Yeah.
Once you
There you
say
go.
it's dogma, you're saying we're done playing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't.
You
I don't
you
feel-
thought you were playing, but we were keeping score the whole time, and you just lost. And now you're not. You got to get out of the circuit. Yeah.
I think that was the case even 20 or 30 years ago. I don't think that's the case anymore. I really think something has changed in the atmosphere in terms of theological discussion that, most Catholics won't have any problem breaking bread with Protestants and talking theology, and vice versa. I would say, just having Sam Tiedemann going on, what's that dude's name? The Catholic dude. I don't really watch
Pints.
him, but no, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't.
Didn't he go with Matt
he's
Fradd
one
or
guy.
whatever? Yeah.
No, it's a different guy. It's another high status Catholic YouTuber. Oh shoot. It's gonna. His YouTube channel is a joke about a certain council. It's the Trent. Yeah, it's Council of Trent, but it's having Sam Tiedemann on there to debate the Trinity. Like that would have never flown 20, 30 years ago. It just wouldn't, So I don't know. I trust that these things will Trent Horan. That's it. Yeah, I trust that these things will sort themselves out over the next few decades, or probably longer than that. But
that's saying that the Trinity is now a secondary thing, right? Are we saying we can play with the Trinity?
I'm saying if the Trinity can be addressed then that puts everything on the table. That
Charitably.
means that Mary
Yeah.
has to be debated by Protestants, like everything. You know, it just, yeah. If you think of like the highest dogmas of the Christian church, and when I say highest, I just mean dogmas that traditionally, if you start to question this, you're persona non grata. I would put the Trinity at the top. Maybe the resurrection itself is probably all the way at the top, and then the Trinity right below that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's a little bit tricky there. For instance, I don't think that I have reserve on things that I talk about here or on voice chat or with people. But the reserve is one is for reverence of the things that I'm talking about. There is a difference if we discuss theology or if we discuss whatever, kayfabe or epistemology. I'm not approaching in the same way. You know, theology for me is not some just abstract, just another set of arguments about another topic. And then I have a commitment still. As a Christian, I have a commitment that when I talk about religious stuff, I'm not, regardless of wherever you come from as a denomination, I'm not going to discourage or put down your faith in God. I'm where I will concede any point that you want, but I'm not going to put doubt on your faith. I will always try to do the opposite. Or so. Yeah, on that
is it because
ground we
there's
can
core
have all
things
the.
and then there's secondary stuff? There's rings within of private. I think
Yeah,
validly right.
maybe
There's
you
a
can put it
hierarchy.
that way. You can put it that way if you want. Yes, I think makes sense.
Yeah.
Should I attempt to defend Mary? Do you want me
I
to
hope nobody. I hope nobody is attacking her.
Like,
that she needs to be defended.
You guys have far better theological knowledge than I do. But
I'm saying you don't have to. I'm saying I like all of it. It's the requirement level, but that's connected to the Trinity too. Yeah.
This is just a deep intuition on my part that the single greatest mistake that Protestantism made was cutting Mary out of the church. That was the single greatest mistake, and that's an intuition on. And I don't have any evidence to back that up, but I would say it's much easier evidentially to talk about the saints as a necessary, how do I put this? Is there only God in the afterlife? Like, is there only God? What is the relationship between all people who have gone before us, who have passed on, and God? Are they just in God, part of God, only God, God and God alone? Or are they independent with God, but not in God? And I believe the latter. And if you believe in the latter, if you believe, let's say, in the communion of the saints, then and if you believe in angels and demons and other principalities, then I don't see how you can't think of all of those as simply pathways to God and roads to God. The same way that a story 500 years ago of a particular saint could inspire you and lead you. So the way the Catholic Church sees Mary, and I'm talking in strictly pragmatic, practical terms here, the way I see it played out on the ground with Mary is that if there's anyone who's going to be the best person at petitioning Christ on your behalf, it's the mother of Christ. The most powerful woman in the Old Testament was not the wife of the king. The most powerful woman was the mother of the king. Mary both in the New Testament, Mary both delays the start of Jesus's ministry when he's 12 years old and he's in the temple and he's ready to, really get going. And Mary's like, "What are you doing? We've been worried about you. Come." And it says he was obedient to her. She's the impetus that gives him 18 more years of his life as a normal human being, because she's not ready to lose her son. I don't blame her. And then who starts Jesus's ministry? Again, it's Mary. Mary's the impetus. They have no wine. Jesus is like, Jesus basically says to her, "Don't you realize the implications of what you're saying? You're asking me to begin to lay down my life because of your friend at this party." And Mary's like, again, she's like, "Do whatever he tells you." She gets it started. So the reason I'm saying that is that the evidence is that if Jesus, and this is not just Mary, this is so many people in the New Testament that move Jesus to action, and it's only when they petition Jesus that he actually is moved to action. If you think of who's the lady 3 times in a row, or she's like hounding the disciples, and the disciples are like, "Tell her to go away," like that, and she just keeps coming at him over and over and over again. And Jesus even says, like, "It's not for me to give this to the dogs of da 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 da." Jesus is about as rude as you see him in the New Testament. And it's this, and Peter's the same way, by the way. Peter's this persistent asshole, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I'm saying the original Pope of my church, but I love Peter. But what am I saying? I'm saying that there is a continuous and constant relationship in the New Testament between Jesus and the people around him. And if you believe that relationship persists after this life between Jesus and the people around him, and I do, then there's nothing wrong with asking those people for help. If you turn those people into an idol in and of themselves, sure, that's a problem. But anyway, I'm not a theologian, but I'm a pragmatist here, man.
Enough accretions. Enough accretions for one stream. Matt C's in the private chat saying we've officially turned into Christian YouTube, and he says that basically that we've gone astray. What do we do wrong?
That's what
Matt?
Tunji wanted. That's what Tunji wanted. I think the biggest mistake the Catholic Church made was cutting the church out of Mary. How about that? But if we keep,
is that a C-section joke?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, well, like if you hold these things looser, to play jazz with what both Neil and Phlebas were doing, which I think are both valid. Like I think if you hold it a bit looser and it's not dogma, you can more readily see how these typologies interplay with each other. Like so many of what Neil is validly saying from a Protestant perspective looks to us like Mary is typologically the church, and a lot of those foreshadowing elements is her the church bearing forth the Messiah, the covenant people giving birth to the Messiah. And would we dogmatize the intensified personification, the emblematic element of the church in the New Testament, Mary, in a sense? Like if we concretize that, I think we've got two parts of the body of God according to Vatican II, which is mandatory dogma. We've got Protestants who are members of God's body, and we've got Catholics who are members of God's body, both missing out on the other half because one wanted to go to the personification of that to the exclusion of what that personification was looking at, and then the other looking at the church general and missing out on that personification in the scripture, which is clearly there. And we lost that because of dogmatism on both sides, I think. As important as these concepts are, and I'm saying dogmatism not negatively, I'm just saying we gripped it too hard, and now A lot of pieces are falling out between our fingers. How about that?
You're holding on too tight, Maverick.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how many times have you heard Catholics talk about the body being the bride, talking about the bride as the church? I know that they can do it, and I know that Protestants can talk about Mary, but they don't because dogmatically we have our entrenched official positions because we don't know how to play. At some point this became we can't take risks on this point. We can't afford to make mistakes, so we're not going to take risks. We're going to take the only safe position, and we both agreed to take opposite positions on this one point, so we both lose. Kumbaya.
Mr. Parker.
Hello. Do you want my hot take? It's so funny you guys are talking about this after the sermon I just endured.
Oh, was that me?
The Lord Jesus has just liberated me from the gates of hell. 45-minute sermon on believe the truth. Pope Francis is preaching heresy. What else? Who else wasn't saved? Oh, the Orthodox people are fucked too. Let's see. This the truth. I would have to use also profanity, probably not safe for a McMo chill stream. So I will just say, I love you guys. I think it's beautiful. I think what you're doing is beautiful.
You're blinking out, Mark. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
You're roboting.
We're able to piece enough pieces together to realize you're saying we're doing better job than what you heard from the pulpit this Sunday, which is a tragedy.
Yes, tragedy. That's what you ended it with.
Thank you.
Not working.
Sorry, Mark. It seems the good Lord does not want you to besmirch. So...
Speaking of the Pope, though.
My favorite topic.
That's actually another thing about what Matt was talking about is they concretized it sort of in one direction. They gave him this infallible ability, and then he becomes too dangerous to use, and he goes under a lot more scrutiny, and everyone has to take their entrenched position. That's how I see it anyways.
In terms of the Pope's day-to-day, now if we get, let's say, a Trump-style Pope that starts doging the bureaucracy of Catholicism, that would be hilarious, by the way. But maybe I'm sacrilegious in saying that. But at least I have not seen how the Pope really affects the church day to day. I just haven't seen it. I'm sure that, let's say, the Queen of England does affect England with her presence and her vibes and all of that. But to be honest, that's much more the sense I get from the role of the Pope today. It's more of the example or the emblem of the church. And I bet even each Pope will feel that in and of itself, that like their every action is scrutinized. And so they have to be the most Christ-like. And so it's not so much the bureaucratic as the example of the bottom up. At least, and maybe that wasn't the case 50 years ago, but like I do feel like that's the case now. But I'm not saying that we couldn't have a Doge-like Pope. It's like I'm completely, that could happen. I don't know.
I think here's some hot stuff from a Protestant. I think he's doing a pretty good job, as if it's like a character projection of like emblematizing a posture, a explicitly Christian posture towards world events and topics and concerns, and who he meets with and who he's gracious towards. I think he's done a really good job of that. If that's today's need, if that's what the Pope is for today, I think he's doing it. You know, what do you guys think? He's like a really nice guy. You know what I mean? If that's what it's for. And it's vibes. Everything is vibes, right? So
I also see an equal and opposite reaction in everything he does. Like in some regards, I think to myself, if he loosened up the Latin Mass, like more and more Latin masses could take place, would that actually do more to diminish the efficacy or the fervor of the Latin Mass? If it's because it's sort of this like internal tension within the Catholic Church. Oh, you're a Latin Mass Catholic. Oh, you know, the hierarchical structure looks down upon that. So you have this automatic opponent processing, optimal grip that happens between like I'm pursuing the traditional on behalf of Jesus, even though the powers that be do not want me to do that. And so like I think with all these things, like sometimes it's not clear to me that fighting against it actually has a detrimental effect on the very thing that it's fighting against. So yeah, like I'm a far bigger believer in spirits than I am like the ability for, well, yeah, I think you get what I'm saying.
yeah, we got to legalize marijuana, and then it won't be so much of a temptation to the kids. In a way, nobody.
Is that really working out though?
Yeah.
Nico, set us straight.
Yeah,
he's a
Get us
proper
back-
Catholic. I think Nico's a cradle Catholic. So correct
Get
all
us
my
back to
heresies.
Latin Mass.
Can I throw one thing out there for about Protestant saints? How pissed do you think John Calvin is right now that he's dead and joined the communion of saints? Like, don't you think he just would love to like perform a miracle? But nobody will pray to him. None of his followers are allowed to. So we're just sitting there like, guys, please, just ask me for something.
Good. That's good.
You think that a saint would be covetousness and envious towards prayers? Come on, bro. Think twice.
There's the human aspect of like, I want to play. And like, he can't play the dead saint game because none of his followers will pray to him because they're doing what he told them to do.
No, I think he's on to a different game, man. I think he's on to the last shall be first and the first shall be last game. I think he's leveled up on you and you didn't even realize.
Do you think he was onto that while he was alive, and that's his like sneaky way to get to the top?
Lord knows.
Lord
knows. Nico, what you got, brother? Don't leave us waiting. Don't just bless us with your presence and then not say anything.
You know, it's nice to have hope. Maybe you guys should try it. I don't know. Maybe you like it.
You guys aren't doing a good job of convincing us that people like having popes. I feel like the last people who like popes right now are Catholics.
Well, I think having a person like the Pope makes us more susceptible to attack, which also makes it more susceptible for people to come into the church. So what happens is all the attention is focused on the one guy, and then people actually look into the one guy because all the negative attention is focused on the one guy. And then when they look into it, they're like, oh, it's actually not that bad. And so inevitably you come in relationship with whatever you attend to. And so like in the underbelly, people are coming in, and it's a very interesting dynamic. So like by attacking, so Mark, as you were talking earlier, by your pastor attacking the thing, and after a while, like people begin to sometimes get curious and say like, why is he even bothering to attack like Methodism? And then all of a sudden the CRC folks start moving into Methodism. The more they I don't know anything about Methodism. I just think do we have any Methodists in the corner?
I don't think we do, which is a tragedy. I think Mark is about the closest we have, honestly.
I was at one point, and Lance was at one point. Active Methodist, I don't know about. Can I become a Catholic out of spite?
It's not a good path, but you can.
Many such cases.
Oh no. Very popular with the kids right now.
You like wearing these giant crosses, so you're already halfway there.
You think it'd burn him if I touched him with my cross, my pastor?
Oh my gosh.
You take the
It's
Buddhist Catholic Thomas Merton pipeline.
That's true. There is if the Thomas Merton pipeline hasn't been clogged yet, I will take that one into Catholicism. It's just so sad. I don't know what came through and what you guys did or didn't hear in my roboting rant. Apparently, I hope you got the gist that I think that you guys are doing better than my church. My pathetic little church is it's a cult mindset, and yet it thinks everybody else is the cult or a cult, which is basically if everybody's wrong, you're in a cult. That's kind of my view of things, which makes me, it's like, when is God going to free me from this place? It's very sad, very sad.
When is God going to free this place from you?
What? Don't do that. Why did you turn it like that?
That's the way of viewing it. That's certainly yeah. Who's a burden on who, right? I already, it's yeah.
Mark,
maybe
stop
that's
being
the
so
point.
open-minded. You're allowed to be offended. Poor guy.
It could be an invitation to leave, and take it like that. Maybe I'm interpreting it all wrong.
And it doesn't have to be in a good way. Wasn't that like the and God hardened the Pharaoh's heart or something? Could be
Right.
not in that way too.
Well, there is a hardening of the heart because I've been explicit. Just a couple weeks ago, we had a prayer meeting where an elder and his best friend took over the prayer meeting. The first 15 minutes of the prayer meeting were just basically a rant against Calvinists in this case. And I already said I can't do another prayer meeting like that. And then he turns around and gives me a sermon basically along the same lines, only blasting basically everybody but us. And I'm like going, what demon has possessed you? And it is a hardening of the heart. The more clearly I stand, the harder they take this man and another man take their position that is less tolerant, less open, less kind.
Jung helped me immensely with that, Mark, because probably the single most important thing I took away from Jung is that most of what comes out of a person's mouth is not related to the thing that they're referring to. It's mostly related to themselves.
Yeah.
So the projection aspect. But I think in communities like this, where we're able to speak openly, then we can correct ourselves. In terms, like I'm not disputing that there is an objective truth. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that we are each first and foremost beholden to the spirits that inhabit us and drive us and motivate us individually. But it's in the community that we are course correcting, and we are able to repent, and we're able to, take feedback, all that stuff.
So much it seems it came, a lot of it. It's funny how these days work on themes, right? It's like my live stream started out in one direction, ended up in another, and we kind of ended on a propositional truth versus trust and love. We didn't say it that way, but that was kind of that would be my takeaway from that live stream.
The perennial conclusion to so many conversations here.
Yes, exactly. And then the sermon today that I endured was all proposition, ideological assent versus go learn what this means. I prefer mercy over sacrifice, right? I don't know how to I really don't know how to free people of the demon of ideological assent, other
Can I
than to
throw
just love.
can I
Yeah,
throw a
please.
random topic at you guys that and maybe it's not as related as it should be. Did we lose Mark? What the heck? Matt McMo, are you kicking? Oh no, I'm sorry. I see
I'm
McMo
here.
like
I'm here.
casually rearranging the squares, going, "What the heck are you doing?" Yeah. So this came to me in Bible study. I think it was last week. Where this is where Satan takes Jesus to the three places and tempts him 3 times. But something that struck me was Satan says to Jesus, he says, God, let me pull up the exact. This is in Luke. Satan tempts Christ. I want to read the exact. Yeah, it's Luke chapter 4. Yeah, so he said, then the devil, taking him up on a high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to him, all this authority I will give you and their glory. And this next part is what struck me. For this has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish. So what struck me is that, and we have this debate within our Bible study of like, is Satan lying to Christ in that moment that all authority, all worldly authority has been given to Satan? So all this, for this part that for this has been delivered to me, and I give it to whomever I wish, like all the worldly authority. So we have this debate of like, is all worldly authority inherently, if not anti-Christian, non-Christian? And like most of my Bible study was convinced that Satan was lying there, and I'm like, I'm not so sure that Satan was lying, because Satan has a tendency to plant his deceits in a truth. He's like using the truth. Those are the strongest deceits, is like when you know the truth and you can wield it as a wonderfully manipulative instrument. And anyway, so
in the corner has been swamped with a
Mind control.
mind control. Mind control.
Seethings throws for mind control. So this is how bad I have failed.
Mind control to Major Tom. Yeah, so I guess the question I'm asking is like, is all focus on the political a focus on Satan, for lack of a better word?
Wow. Yes.
Like
That's really
to
good.
what level? Yeah. Anyway.
But then you also have, that's a statement at the beginning of the gospel, and by the end of the gospel, Jesus has broken and reclaimed all power and authority. So what's the status now?
That too.
Like, what does it take to, like, and I think part of the church is to, in some sense, redeem, renew, reclaim those powers that he has, in fact, like, begun the reconquest.
Gotcha. So you're saying that Christ properly begins to how do I say this? Make worldly authority beholden to him instead of Satan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neil, I agree with you that, like, the way I would think about that temptation is that it's not a temptation if it isn't true. Right? Like, what's so tempting about, like, if someone says they're going to give you a spaghetti monster, a real one, you're like, whatever, But
me offering you $1 million versus $1 million from Elon Musk, right? If I'm offering you $1 million, it's total bullshit, and you're not tempted at all. But you might stop and think if it's Elon Musk offering you $1 million, right?
Yeah.
Very good
I think
point.
Same.
The temptation behind the temptation is this would allow him to get everything that he supposedly Jesus is trying to get while avoiding the cross. It's like, you can have everything, you can be the de facto leader of the world as long as you like admit in your heart of hearts that like you're doing this because I, the devil, have given this to you. Then you don't need to go through that pain and suffering stuff.
there's this, yeah, I think you're right, Matt. And there's this really interesting relationship between what is and what is to be. And I think this is where Sam Tiedemann would hit his best strokes of saying that, it's passages like this that indicate Jesus did not exist since the beginning of time and all that stuff. But I don't think we really understand time at all. So what I would say is something like, it doesn't let Jesus off the hook of the crucifixion, but it doesn't mean that, how do I say this? It doesn't mean that the crucifixion wasn't ordained since the beginning of time and that Jesus knew he had to walk that path since the beginning of time. You know what I mean? There's a difference between the thing that is meant to happen and the thing happening.
Yeah, but I would also say that there is no being without opposition. Like, you don't come into being unless you have an adversary. You're never creative unless you have limitations. Revelation calls us overcomers. So without anything to overcome, right? We're not anything. It's my little greenhouse example of, you grow your seedlings in the greenhouse and then you take them from there and put them in the garden and they all die. You have to harden them off slowly. You have to bring them out for a couple of hours, a little longer, and let them experience direct sunlight, wind, temperature changes, all that kind of thing.
Is that a waterfall in your background, Sherry, or is it raining really hard?
It's snowing.
Really?
It's snowing like you wouldn't believe. And right now there are like 75 blackbirds out at my feeder and they're just singing. And I did a course this morning. I'm doing William Blake with Michael Martin. And Blake says when he was a child, he had a vision of angels in the trees. And, the blackbirds are just parked here until the weather smartens up. And every morning I'm like, oh, look, there's all the angels in the trees. There they are.
I want to ask Mark about the political stuff, or Matt, you too. What are your thoughts on that about Luke 4?
Well, just real quickly, like I'm gonna head out. I'm gonna go play pickleball with my wife. I wanted to see, because I had a question for Mark too. This is an easy one. Mark, what are you streaming next? Because I want to talk to you about Buddhism. I want to get at it. I don't want to just play around.
Yeah, I do need to pick that up again, don't I?
I'm an ex-Buddhist too, so
okay.
I think it would be fun.
Well, House of Wu is probably not really Buddhist space, but we talk about anything there, and that's Tuesday afternoons, California time afternoons. That's probably the next time I'll be live, and you're welcome to pop in. And then if you want to set up something that we could schedule something ahead if you wanted to join me and we could go at it, I'd be happy to. I really do need to pick that back up. I've been overwhelmed and having a hard time keeping up with my personal life just because of demands, caregiving and whatnot. So so either one.
I'll just swing by informally and just try to, maybe I can serve you a bit by asking you some questions.
That'd be great. Yeah, it's very helpful to have questions. Yeah.
Guys, I think it's perfect timing for us to wind it down and to proceed to final thoughts. Matt, you go first. We'll go in the order of the screen. So it'll be Neil, Nico, then Mark, Sherry, Matt. Let's do some final thoughts, and then I'll play the beat that we've made, and then we'll take a nice Sunday nap.
You'll
take me, Matt?
I will take a nap.
The other Matt, right? Not this Matt.
Yeah.
Which Matt? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I gotcha.
You go first.
See, this is why I need the non de guerre, because there's too many Matts in the world. I'm drawing a blank here. I don't know. This was fun. Sorry, I'm getting very deer in the headlights. Yeah, I don't know. Just keep chilling.
I apologize for putting you on the spot. Thank you for being here, Matt. Neil, you're up.
I think these decades of all the religious traditions both competing and cooperating over the next 30 to 40 years are going to be really, really interesting. And it's going to be fascinating to see, because what I think is going to happen is we're going to separate out by personality types rather than where we were born. That's already happening. But it's just fascinating to see that happen. And I'm also curious to see how Christ is going to reweave, like once we separate out based on personality types and natural proclivities, somehow Jesus is going to weave it all back together again. But I'm really curious to see how that picture plays out. So yeah, anyway.
Well said. Nico, what say you?
I say I was told this was going to be a chill stream. Still waiting for them beats.
No.
And then he drinks his espresso with that cool look in his face.
You'll get your beats. You'll get your beats, and you'll like them, Nico.
You're goddamn right.
All right. Nico, thank you so much for everything you do. Mark, you're up. Any final thoughts on the day? It's been a long conversation. You've been in and out.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed most of your live stream, and I'm sorry I roboted earlier, but it's probably for the best because I was ranting about my church. My last thought. When we talk about salvation, saved from what to what? And if you want to see what salvation looks like, go check out my live stream this morning when Chad pops in and starts talking about his baby and his life and his new struggles with faith as a result of his immersion in fatherhood. And I think that's what salvation looks like. It's love, and it's love in a really profound and difficult, challenging way, and yet super rewarding. So that'd be my parting thought. And then if Neil wants to talk politics, just email me, Neil, and we'll schedule something.
Well said. If you're missing anything that's happened on Mark D. Parker's channel, that's on you. He's got some of the best combos happening in the corner right now. Let's
Really
go,
hot
Sherry,
stuff.
and then if you got something to say, Matt C, you go first, and we'll let Sherry have the final word.
No, I was just putting Mark Parker over. Actually, maybe Sherry should have the final word because she's gonna have the best words.
Don't know. I don't really have much to say. I just joined and then McMo ended it. So thanks, McMo.
Yeah, once Sherry came in dropping beauty bombs, we had to end it. It was just too much. We couldn't handle it.
The 1-2 punch of Nico's stash and Sherry's presence, we're done. Done.
Yeah.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. Shut it down.
Oh,
Darning wool. Like, forget about it.
No,
Don't tempt me.
I'm combing.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
I'll shut it. I'll interrupt anybody with some branding, so don't tempt me. Matt C, did you have any final words that you wanted to leave us with? Or should we get to the brand?
No,
should we get to the beat?
Just
think
wait,
we're doing it.
I wanted to ask Mark if he wants to do another live stream after this. Because, Mark, I really wanted to talk to you about your rant. And then Mo had to take a nap.
I'm sorry. I've been doing this for 3 hours. And I was engaged with Mark's conversation earlier, so I'm just a little tired. My wife's been texting me. I got things I need to do, but also I probably do need to take a nap. LOL. Take a nap. See, I proved it right there. But you know what? I think I am just going to call it. You know what? We'll listen to the beat. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for coming and playing. It's been a real fun one today. Don't forget to donate to my Ko-Fi.
Thanks, McMo.
Game day for TLC, I don't mean, we don't We don't have to beat the other person. You know what I mean? We're going to do it our TLC way. But we're forgetting our kung fu, I think, sometimes. We don't know how to, like, you know, use our opponent's energy against them, you know, so that we can have a good time. And despite themselves, they're actually going to be a part of our jazz troupe, right? And we're actually going to make good music together.
Kyle, get his ass. Go ahead.
Just more a question like what game you're
here to see.
There's a sense in which I want you to understand me. And for me to understand you, I have to listen. Let's fractal. Yeah.
So we have to come to grips with the fact that like I can't in your soul, I can't fix your problems. But we keep hanging out together for solutions.
I don't want people to understand me, Tyler. I want to, like, there's some people in my life that I want to understand this is like that. Because I'm sheltered. I'm surrounded by people that are just like me, Tyler. No, so I don't know. This is
Are you willing to trade talk with a stranger? Give a seer or a singer, poet or prophet a greeting, a welcome with wise words. Question the far traveler about creation, its natural power, its bodying forth into everyday wonder through God's grace, its life-quickening capacity and clout, its marvelous moving among men. Each waking wonder is a telling token to the man who understands the wide world, holds a map in his mind, comprehending the shape of creation, and contemplating the past, knowing that long ago warriors and poets could weave truth in proverbs and prophecies, their measure of melodies, the warp and weft of song, so that through their repeating, rehearsing, revising, men might remember this web of mysteries, God's gift of world wonders, of life's rich riddles, of the deep down shaping, sustaining spirit. So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the seminal secrets of creation, unlock his word hoard, inscribe for the world's understanding the art and craft of narration. Are you willing to trade talk with a stranger? Give a seer or a singer, poet or prophet a greeting, a welcome with wise words. So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the seminal secrets of creation, unlock his word hoard, inscribe for the world's understanding the art and craft of narration. The treasure of a good story, the gift of signifying song. A wise man never grows weary of watching wonders, contemplating this grand creation of acting wholly and wisely in the world. So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the Are you willing to trade talk with a stranger? Give a seer or a singer, poet or prophet a greeting, a welcome with wise words. Question the far traveler about creation, its natural power, its bodying forth into everyday wonder through God's grace, its life-quickening capacity and clout, its marvelous moving among men. Each waking wonder is a telling token to the man who understands the wide world, holds a map in his mind, comprehending the shape of creation, and contemplating the past, knowing that long ago warriors and poets could weave truth in proverbs and prophecies, their measure of melodies, the warp and weft of song, so that through their repeating, rehearsing, revising, men might remember this web of mysteries, God's gift of world wonders, of life's rich riddles, of the deep down shaping, sustaining spirit. So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the seminal secrets of creation, unlock his word hoard, inscribe for the world's understanding the art and craft of narration. Are you willing to trade talk with a stranger? Give a seer or a singer, poet or prophet a greeting, a welcome with wise words.
I see. This is, in my mind at least, it's like there's at least two different.
So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the seminal secrets of creation, unlock his word hoard, inscribe for the world's understanding the art and craft of narration. The treasure of a good story, the gift of signifying song. A wise man never grows weary of watching wonders, contemplating this grand creation of acting wholly and wisely in the world. So let the deeply thinking man, seeker and seer, who reflects on the simple
as best you can bootstrap at least a semi-playful type of environment mindset with you. And I don't think it's an impossible project. I don't think it's not gonna be necessarily as great as you might hope, and as like groovy as like kind of the playful conversations like in this group or other liminal web groups, where I think we're all people who love deep, playful interesting problem to solve. We're talking about an important subject, right? Where people have a lot of emotional investment. People have a lot of maybe ego about their role or what they have to offer in addressing a problem to like move a little further away from like the real super serious like frankly just probably have a ton of assumptions about what the right way to approach things are, and if you dare question those, you're just gonna ignite conflict and whatnot into a place where they feel a little more comfortable when I'm sitting with a new artist who wants to change the world. So, see if you can guess who said this. The world doesn't need any more songs. Matter of fact, nobody wrote any songs this day. The world ain't gonna suffer. Nobody cares. There's enough songs for people to want to listen to songs. For every man, woman, and child on earth, they could be singing probably each of them 100 songs, never be repeated. There's enough songs. Unless someone's gonna come along with a pure heart and something to say. That's a different story. That is Bob Dylan.
Within those whatever, but now within the egalitarian structure comes in this this binary, and now the binaries at war.
What's more feminine than whining about the opposition while you're in power?
Who's whining? I'm whining, but I'm not right wing. I'm whining because I think there's value to having a strong left. I would rather.
I guess the point I was making without apart from just being a silly troll is that there's a. So I think the masculine feminine mode maps on to my understanding of the fox and the lion mode that PVK presents, and there's a sense in which the lions do have cultural cachet, and they've had it for a while now, but they're still complaining that the fox is the center of power, i.e. the monoculture, because media-wise, people have been saying the mainstream media has been dead for like at least 5 years, and evidenced by the fact that Joe Rogan got Trump and co-elected, if that's to be believed, as in Kamala not going on Joe Rogan played a factor. So there's a sense in which there's an institution outside of the mainstream institution that's already there and active, yet there's still this fight against establishment, which is seen as the. So I guess is the solution that everyone becomes
new artist who wants to change the world. So, see if you can guess who said this.
Why? Because I played it we're not are we trying to do we want all fucks to be fucked, to be lions?
Nobody wrote any songs. This I like that world ain't gonna suffer. Christian brought in became like feminine. There's enough songs for people to listen to. Remember toxic masculinity. Every man, woman, and child on earth, they could be sick. Probably it's used almost interchangeably with masculinity a lot. And I think people, there's enough songs. Hang on, if you're going to call something toxic masculinity, you're at least implying there is something else called and something we say positive. That's the difference with masculinity, right? Healthy masculinity, right? And so if you wanted to imagine.
Jesus Christ.